Welcome to Truth Uncompromised. I am your host, Rhonda. Join us every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Truth is peace. Truth is justice and freedom to love, live, and be. Music provided by SourceVibrations.com. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I have abundance. I have everything within me. For I was, for I am, for I always be. We are love. We are peace. We are free. We have abundance. We have everything within us. For we are, for we will always be. For Mother Earth is love. For Mother Earth has peace. For Mother Earth is free. For Mother Earth has abundance. For Mother Earth has everything within her. For she was, for she is, for she will always be. And so it is spoken. So it has been written, and it is done.
You have entered into a dimension of truth where time does not exist and illusions are shattered. The journey of truth is intense. The journey of truth will set you free. Consider this a warning as you enter the dimension of truth uncompromised.
All right, family. Welcome to the Truth Uncompromised show. I am your host, Rhonda, and tonight is September 26th. We have a great show planned for you. We are just about on the end of our series, The Lands of the Giants. We're on part 19. So we're going to pick up where we left off with the Giants in the Americas. And last week, very, very interesting. We got into, and we're using as a source of a reference for this series two sources. We started out at the beginning, the giant cities of Bashan, and then we're ending up the series with the ancient giants who ruled America, The Missing Skeletons and the Great Smithsonian Cover-Up by Richard J. Dewhurst. So last week, as we were talking about the giants in Americas, he had a section in the book regarding the giants in the Americas who were royalty, and they were noted and found with literally copper crowns on their head. And it just show you how the natural resources in the Americas were so rich at the time. A lot of these giant remains were found, especially when they were of royalty. Literally, their apparel was made out of pearls. So very, very interesting stuff. We're going to pick up where we left off last week. We do have some follow-up items. We wanted to talk about the Arctic, so we will definitely get into that as well. So with that said, I am going to bring on my co-hosts. I see Brother Sean and Sis Sandra, so just a second here. Let me bring them on. Bring on Brother Sean. Peace and love, brother. How are you?
Wholeness and power, sis. I'm well. How about you?
I'm well. It's good to hear your voice.
Likewise.
All right. Let me bring on Sis Sandra. Peace and love, sis. How are you?
Oh, peace and love to you, Rhonda, and to Brother Sean and the family. I'm doing pretty good. I was expecting to be gone, but I had some change of plans. Some snafus.
Okay. That's okay. Of course, we're glad to have you here, but we want you to get your vacay in, too.
These moments, I can't wait.
I know. Those are good times.
Yeah, they are, and I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, indeed.
Had to delay it.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so we'll start with you, sis. Did you have any, go ahead on with the fuckery for the family?
Well, you know what? I'm just really, really, really fed up. I'm so tired of these folks with this mess they pulling in this country. And all around the world, everybody is all, wired for sound right now. And if you just think it just a little bit, they're going to shatter. This mess with this impeachment and all this arrest. Just because he's not your party, which they're all the same, but he's not your party, they're going to find anything and everything to get him out of there.
Because didn't they do the same thing with Slick Willie Clinton?
Mm-hmm.
For lying about an affair like most men will do? Shit, who finna sit up and admit that? But
all the blowjobs
theater.
Who cares? All the blowjobs he got, who cared?
Right. I really don't care. What you say, Brother Sean?
No, I say the thing is Clinton was actually impeached.
You know what? I saw that.
He just said fuck that and didn't leave office.
You know what, Brother Sean? I saw that somewhere, and I just didn't have time, and I didn't want to give the energy to research it. So his ass really was impeached, but he was like, I ain't going nowhere.
Exactly. He stayed in office and done what the hell he wanted to do.
Wow.
I saw that actually impeached. So, it's just a waste of people's time. So even
it is, and it's a joke. It's a joke. So if Clinton impeaching was like, what the fuck ever, that proves to you it's just a joke.
Just a waste of people's time and energy. But it's a distraction.
Of course.
It's a distraction because the economy is said to be tanking. And the feds are pumping in 53.
Yeah, they said a lot of money. Yeah, because it's negative interest rates. It's a mess.
Yeah, and that's the distraction. And if people don't pay attention, they're going to be left without food and resources.
You know, it's interesting because and I want to say Indonesia, and Rap the News had a video on it. I want to say it was Indonesia, where the sky and the air, everything was bright red, y'all. So somebody videotaped it. That same day, I'm sitting in my living room because the sun sets the front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden, it gets bright as hell. I said, oh, hell no, I know what that means. I immediately grabbed my phone to go outside and take a picture. Y'all, that damn sky was lit up on fire.
Right.
And outside looking around, and of course they had the clouds and stuff blocking it out. But I'm looking around, but it was lit up enough for folks to at least be curious. Nobody else is paying attention. So on our end, it was like a pinkish, a high pinkish color, but that was the same day that Indonesia had somebody had taped in Indonesia, and it was several videos that came out by different people in Indonesia that posted it to YouTube, where the sky was so much on fire with red that even the atmosphere was red. So I'm like, oh, shit. So, of course, they're going to throw an impeachment trial up.
And this fake stuff with this climate change. The climate, you can technically say it may be, but we're at the toast of the world, you know? And they don't understand the frequencies and the shifts, and they're not telling the people about that sort of stuff. The catastrophic is to occur soon.
And I have an article to share with the family tonight, because I told y'all last week that as that Arctic thaw out, they keep finding these different species. And yet again, something thawed out, and they found another species, just something totally, well, it's really not new. If it was thawed out, that means it's ancient. It's just new to us.
To them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, very, very interesting.
You know,
going on.
Your Yamnias, that DNA, Planet of the Apes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And Daniel's gospel is that they're going to try to mix their seed with men. And they did. And all that stuff got to be cleared away. It got to be destroyed. So when he said,
I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
I said, when he says that in that gospel, that you cannot mix the seed. And I'm going to tell you who I think mixed the seed, because most of the people are of this lineage. That is that person by the name of Cain they talk about in the Bible. When he went into the land of Nod, they never tell you where that is. They never tell you where that is. But I was listening to Lax Will just a few minutes before we came on, and he's telling about that RM343. I think that's what you call that marker.
But anyway, go ahead.
And all the people that's mixed with that stuff.
Yep.
You know, and that's mixing your seed with man.
Yep. And it's interesting, sis, because I have been thinking about this for years, but now it makes more and more sense. And I think that the mixing of the bloodlines, although it happened, I think that like the original bloodlines and the bloodlines that have the ability to carry the high frequency, the ancient bloodline.
Yeah.
I think that we had to clean up all of the mixing and the fuckery, if that makes sense, because the dominant gene will always overrule.
Exactly.
So that's part of it too, because so much shit went on this planet, and the ancient original bloodline has to take accountability for the fuckery that went on, because there had to be a level of consent to the fuckery. So therefore that means that same bloodline needs to clean it up. So part of that mixing was to do that as well, for that dominant gene to clean up all of this mess. Now, I hear folks, and Brother Sean, you know where I'm going with this, like the Boers use that excuse that that's why they went around the planet mixing their seed to clean up the bloodline, when actually that was, a lot of that bloodline was in opposition. Exactly. It was in direct opposition to natural law of the universe.
Exactly.
Because they mix their bloodline with our bloodline, then all of that circle, we have to clean it up. And that's why melanated people to this day, as we have this conversation, are in battle with each other, because it is a spiritual war.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
No, I was just listening to the R1B1 and all those things, and he had a group of people he was telling. This is a video he just got out here, and I had him on my heart, and I said, I haven't listened to him in about a year. I need to listen to what he has to say, because there's something he has to say. And I listened to what he said, coupled with what you said. I said, oh, my God. And they multiply like rabbits on this planet, that bloodline he's talking about, like rabbits. And so it's overtaking the planet. And
well,
so
it has overtaken.
Yes.
And I'll put it this way. That particular bloodline has spread much too far than it was supposed to.
Right.
But on the other hand, the original dominated bloodline that is indigenous to the land still are the ones dominant, but our bloodlines have been mixed.
Right.
So we'll definitely, not that we are correcting it. And that's why we're seeing the splits amongst folks. And folks think that it's about the Caucasian and us splitting. No, because they're much younger. That's after the fact. This is really about the battle of the melanated split bloodline that we're cleaning up. So, but very, very good point, sis. Brother Sean, you have any go ahead on with the fuckery?
Yeah, but I want to add on to what she was saying. The whole thing with the economy, so to speak, the Fed ain't really pumping nothing into nothing that they ain't did with any other president.
Right. That's true.
All they call themselves trying to do is give the economy a little boost so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
to get people to spend more money that they don't have.
Right.
Now, all this is basically going to expose the Federal Reserve, the Clintons, Pelosi, all of them millionaires and billionaires in the government. The gig is up.
It really is.
And it took one of their own to be able to expose them and have people take it seriously. But people and their mental condition still go along with the people who've been sticking it to you the hardest. And that's the Democrats. They're the ones that always play on our emotions. They're the ones that always pull the race card into it. I mean, if you really look at the Republicans, they don't give a fuck about color. They want their money. That's all they give a fuck about. They want their money.
Straight up. That's right.
Democrats, the ones that's running all these weird-ass operations, pedophilia, human trafficking.
That's right.
The KKK. They're the ones that control the media.
That's right.
I mean, we have to learn to utilize every bit of information and tool that's available to us.
Right, and don't stick in your feet in the mud and just stand there. It's crazy.
What I'm saying is, why interfere and put energy into your enemy when your enemy is fighting your enemy?
Right. Exactly. And they don't see it.
Exactly.
They don't see it. They need
The only
to shut
thing you're supposed to be preparing to do is clean up the mess after they finish going through their shit.
Exactly. Is that not what they did to the indigenous on this land?
Yeah,
when
they set up and watched the indigenous on the indigenous. Yeah.
Yep. They
watched
just
us turn on each
stepped
other.
over the motherfucking bodies and took over. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a really good video going around where get the part, because of course they edit what the fuck they want to edit, but it was some summit and that Candace Owens lady that's a Trump supporter and the rapper T.I. were going tit for tat back and forth. So Killer Mike, who's a rapper, but he's a highly intelligent man, really, really intelligent, he pretty much put them both in their place saying, I can't believe that I'm listening to two free people arguing over who they want their master to be. And that's basically what people are doing. I'm like, are you kidding me? You think I'm going to fucking sit here and argue with you over Democrat and Republic?
That's right.
You don't have that much control over who you are? You want to pick your enslavement? Get the fuck out of here. So, yeah, I highly encourage people, you don't have to listen to the whole summit. I didn't. Because the clip that got the most popular pull was the one with T.I. running Candace Owens in the ground on why she's going down the Trump and the Democrat side. But they didn't put the part out there where Killer Mike put both of their asses on blast, saying I'm just witnessing two free people sitting up here arguing over who their master is going to be. And at the end of the day, that's what this shit is about. We keep telling you all it is a spiritual war. It's a spiritual war. And to be arguing over politics, and I mean, you're free to do it. Don't get me wrong. You're so free to do it, but hopefully you enter and understand that you are in agreement, and that goes back to what I said at the beginning, that there had to be a level of consent in the beginning for this fuckery to go on. So participating in these systems, actively, you're consenting. You're consenting to the same system that has dominated the world, which I keep telling y'all is a Roman system. And that's cool too. Just know what it is for what it's worth and keep it moving. But, meanwhile, the age, the frequency, the planet, the motherfucking universe, the solar system has moved the fuck on. That's 3D stuff. And to be honest, that's dark ages. People want to talk about the dark ages. That is the fucking dark age. To be under death, that's dark ages. A monetary system, all that shit, that's dark ages. But if you're comfortable with that, that's cool too. Do you? I'm sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
But that leads into my go ahead with the fuckery. How our people are saying that our people are the ones that invented the monetary system. That there was trade, barter, money, and all types of things long before the quote-unquote Caucasians were on the planet.
Right. Yep. Right. Yep.
The bottom line is all of that was during the fall and under a patriarchal system.
But see, don't they leave out that motherfucking part? That part is left out. Oh, you don't motherfucking remember that. So you honestly think that we're gonna get back on top with the same fucked up system? No, you just want to control the same fucked up system. And we keep telling y'all the shit is going away. Because it's the dark ages and it's not in the correct frequency. It's in a lower frequency when we fail. Absolutely, Brother Sean. Absolutely. Shit to be proud of as far as I'm concerned.
The whole point that they don't seem to remember. Why do we have to pay anybody for anything that Mama gives us freely?
That's right. That's right.
If you want something that somebody else got so bad, then whatever type of contract you enter into with that individual is on you. But nothing should be mandated for everybody.
That's right. That's right. A monetary system, and people still don't get it. That is slavery. That's against natural law. To have to pay to live on a planet, who the fuck said whom owns the planet? They got people so comatose, you pay for water. Really, bruh?
You pay for energy that they're lying to you about, that they're creating, which they're not. They're using free natural resources to do that. They tax you on your body, on the labor that you work. They trade you on the stock market. And so anybody that thinks, oh, we're just going to take over the system and make it better. No, you're just rebranding the same fucked up low vibrational system. And we are telling you it's not going to happen. All of it is going to crash because that is the Dark Ages. When that Roman system started going around the planet, taking the land of the indigenous people and putting trade and bartering and monetary systems, that was the start of slavery. So ain't none of that shit to be proud of. Taking the land out of the mother's hands, putting it in a patriarch's hand. I've told you all, the first war on this plane was man against woman. It is a spiritual war. It's a war with the woman and her children, her creation. All tied up in ego, all tied up in I want control, love of self, very childish. But all of that shit, it's being wiped away. It's being wiped away. It's going to a higher realm. And every week we're telling you that the planet is showing you that. The skies are showing you shit is moving on. So yeah, they're going to keep playing games with you to distract you from the spiritual side on this monetary system. Let the shit fall. Like I keep telling y'all, the longest you know how to put your hands in the motherfucking soil, and we're fortunate enough to get rain, shit, you should be able to make it. And if you don't make it, oh well. But I digress. Okay. All right. So, Brother Sean, did you have any go ahead on with the fuckery? I know you want to put something on Sis's comments. Uh-oh. All right, Brother Sean, I'm going to move on. I'm taking it.
I heard it. We just went over it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something else. All right, family. So I'm going to go into the Mars stuff. I know we didn't have time last week. Sis Cheryl sent me some stuff on Mars. Let me make sure. Here we go. I'm sorry, on the Arctic. My bad. Why the hell did Mars come into my psychic? That's interesting. All right. So this is the Arctic stuff. All right. So I highly, highly recommend this particular Mercator Maps. MERCATOR. Makes excellent maps. If I'm not mistaken, I think that one map I keep telling y'all about with Africa, I'm not sure if that's one of his maps.
But yeah, that was a 53, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I was trying to remember that name of that map.
But anyhow, that this particular map maker from back up in the day is well known, well respected. Okay, so this is one of his maps from 1606. Mercator handiest map of the Arctic, the first map of the North Pole. Okay, so when you look at this map, you're going to see it's not covered with ice, of course, and you're going to see these 4 islands. You're going to see a lot of stuff. So I'm going to read this article. Doggone it, let me get out of that. And here we go. All right, description. This is the second edition of Gerard McCarta's map of the North Pole or Arctic, one of the greatest cartographers' most interesting and important maps. McCarta's Arctic projection has its roots in his magnificent 1569 wall map of the world, in which Mercator first introduces his revolutionary projection. As regards the Arctic, the difficulty with the Mercator projection is that to accurately depict the polar regions, his map would have to be infinitely tall. Mercator compensated for this by including a polar projection very similar to the map shown here. In the lower left-hand corner of his great map, this map rightly be considered to be the world's first specific map of the North Pole. Mercator later reissued this map in an expanded format for his 1595 Atlas. Following a number of important expeditions to the Arctic in subsequent 10 years, Mercator's successor, Jodocus Hondius, reissued the original 1595 map with a number of revolutionary and highly significant changes. Our survey of this map must naturally be with the North Pole itself, which Mercator envisioned as a large black rock, the Rufus Nigra, surrounded by a great whirlpool into which 4 powerful rapid rivers flow. These rivers divide a massive continent-sized landmass into 4 distinct islands or countries. When the English polymath John Dee wrote to Mercator asking about his sources for this map, Mercator returned the following letter, which survives in his own hand. In the midst of the 4 countries is a whirlpool, into which there empty these 4 endwines, seas which divide the north. And the waters rush around, descends into the earth, just as if it were one pouring it through a filter funnel. It is 4 degrees wide on every side of the pole, that is to say 8 degrees altogether, except that right under the pole there lies a bare rock in the midst of the sea. Its circumference is almost 33 French miles, and it is all of magnetic stone. This is word for word everything that I copied out of this author years ago. Okay, so I just want to pause real quick. The magnetic stone refers to, if you all have heard the term Mount Meru, okay, because remember when we talked about the Arctic and that black magnetic sun that sits underground, and then some say that it was you can even say tree of life, if you've heard that term, that the tree of life, sometimes you'll see that depicted, or you'll see this big mountain, all right? And they name that mountain Mount Meru, and it's always been said, excuse me, in mythology, that Mount Meru was made of, it was magnetic. And the movie that came out a couple of years ago with Idris Elba in it called The Dark Tower was kind of depicting that, although the location they weren't saying was set in the Arctic, it looked deserty to me. But in the movie, it was about this dark tower where they people from these outer worlds were trying to control this tower. And so in one scene in the movie, because Idris came from one of those outer lands, so in one scene in the movie, the little boy asked him, well, where are you from? And he literally drew on the ground, this is how Earth looks. This is how we used to know Earth to be. So he drew the circle, a little circle in the middle, and then he kept drawing circles around on the outside, and then he was drawing little lines in between the circles, and he explained to the young boy that the lines in between were the portals to get from one world to the other. And he told the little boy what world he came from. But that middle inner circle, that represents these 4 islands that McCarter is depicting in his map. And in the middle of those 4 islands is the rock, excuse me, or the tower, or Mount Meru. All right, the author that Mercader refers to is generally believed to be Jacobus Koning van Heisenbusch, who is himself referencing an Enigma lost work, the Inventio Fortunata. Little is known of the Inventio, or basically it's called Fortunate Discoveries, saved that it was comprised in the 14th century and was a well-known resource for map makers of the 15th and 16th centuries. The author of this work is a figure of considerable mystery, and arguments have been made that he is of Nicholas of Lynn, Thomas Kingsbury, or Hugh of Ireland. So let's remember, when we're speaking of these people in the 14th, 15th, and 16th centuries, who sat on those thrones? Those were melanated folks that sat on those thrones back then. So just I always want to remind the family the accurate depiction of those time frames. All right, so the Fortunate Discovery also itself references a far older and similarly lost work, the Gestae Arthuro, which adds a new chapter to the legend of King Arthur, citing that his warriors conquered Ireland, Greenland, the Faroes, and parts of Norway. Regardless of the attribution of Mercator's sources, the idea of the Arctic being divided into 4 lands surrounding a black magnetic rock was, even in the 16th century, not new. Variants on the magnetic rock theme, the Rufus Niagara, can be found in such esteemed references such as the text of Ptolemy, which identifies several such. The presence of such a magnetic mountain at the extreme north may have seemed a natural connection for scholars attempting to explain the wonders of the compass. Curiously, though, referencing the Fortunate Discoveries, with regards to the presence of the magnetic rock at the Arctic pole, McCarta does not ascribe to it any magnetic property. Thus, he reserves for another magnetic rock located north of the Strait of Anian, which he here identifies as the magnetic pole, possibly an attempt to account for magnetic variation. The idea of a great whirlpool far to the north can also be found in many early legends and texts, which are often associated with the legend of Lofoten Mastodon in Norway. The explorer John Davis and Martin Frobisher both mention an inflowing current that they clearly believe to be a great polar rivers and the Arctic Maelstrom. Thus, this place seemeth to have a marvelous great indraft, and draweth into it most of the drift ice and other things which do float in the sea. So that's George Best, he's a lieutenant, which inlet or gulf this afternoon and in the night we passed over, where to our great admiration we saw the sea falling down into the gulf with a mighty overfall and roaring, and with divers circular motions like whirlpools. All right, so I just find it interesting. Where's that water going to? I'm just saying. Okay, some say that that's the entrance to like another layer of Earth, or you can call it inner Earth that's supposed to be tropical, and which allegedly and supposedly Admiral Byrd gained interest in entrance into it. All right, so it is hard to know exactly what these navigators witnessed, but there can be no doubt that Arctic currents in Davis Straits are powerful and erratic. One of the largest polar islands located north of Norway, McCarta claims, is the home to a band of female pygmies. This too referenced the Old English voyages described in the I always forget what it said, y'all. The Fortunate Discoveries. All right. The author of the Fortunate Discoveries seemed quite clear that no vessel could survive the polar rivers or the Great Mastodon, so any hope to accurately describe the region can be but speculative. Nevertheless, here we have a reference that is suggested of an actual voyage to the region. The female pygmies may well be a reference to Lapland Eskimos, who are quite small in stature. That the group was predominantly female is consistent with Eskimo hunting patterns in which the men will often leave in groups to hunt. Mercator's original map from his 1569 wall map, as well as the first edition of his Atlas map of the Arctic, published in 1595, excuse me, you all, shows 4 complete islands with a solid coastline. This edition marks a significant leap forward in Arctic map making. McCarta completed his 1595 map just before he died in 1594. 2 years later, Dutchman Barents, in search of a northwest passage, discovered Spitsbergen and rounded the northern tip of Nova Zembla. This incredible achievement redefined the map-making perspective of the region, for the newly discovered islands were well into the latitudes where Mercator had mapped his 4 Arctic countries. In this 1606 example, McCarter's heir, Jodocus Hondius, had to redraw Makata's 1595 map to account for the Dutch discovery in Spitsbergen and Nova Zembla, attempting to reconcile recent discoveries with a century of map-making convention. Hondius erased part of the Pygmy Island, and instead added Neolant, Willoughby Land, and Macfan, alternative names for the islands of Spitsbergen. What Hondius thus created is a map that embraces two realities, both of which cannot exist simultaneously. The first is the old world, four islands notion embraced by McCarter, and the second is a modern world newly discovered. Other maps of this region would, in the subsequent decades, follow suit until by 1636, all trace of Makata's four continents, the Rupes Nigra and the Arctic Maelstrom, had vanished. Damn, they took the shit out off the map in 1636? Wow. All right, so the intriguing elements of Makata and Hondius' map do not end with the North Pole. The mystical island of Friesland, which appears between Greenland and Iceland, is one example. Here, both the configuration of Greenland and the existence of Friesland are drawn from the Zeno map, composed by the Venetian explorer Niccolo and Antonio Zeno. The brothers Zeno explored the coast of Greenland in the 14th century. Some have suggested that they continue west of Greenland to land on Newfoundland, thus advocating a Venetian discovery of America. This idea has largely been discredited. However, it seems certain that they did land on the western shores of Greenland, and upon their return landed in Iceland, which they subsequently mapped twice, once as Friesland and once properly as Iceland. Frieslands continue to appear on maps of this region well into the 16th century. McCarter's interesting mapping of North America in the left-hand quadrant of this map is also of exceptional interest. There are no significant changes in Hondius' 1606 treatment of the northern part of America over Makata's 1595 treatment. However, there are significant differences between 1595 map and the 1569 inset map, which left the region blank. One can only assume that McCarter must have come across new information regarding the northern part of the Americas in the intervening years. One such example is the Lago de Canabas, a large lake with a central island that has an outlet into the Great Arctic Bay to the northeast of the Strait of Annan. Canabas appeared on a number of early maps, including its first appearance on the Devitt map of 1575. Devitt is known to have met with Cartier and may have derived the lake from these conversations. Some suggest that the term refers to cornerbots, an alternate name for wampum shells. In any case, this lake has been associated by some scholars with Great Salt Lake, Lake Ontario, the Great Lakes in general, and some of the other large Canadian lakes. Whatever it may be, and there is a great deal of mystery here, it does suggest that European map makers had some sense of the Great Lakes of North America long before their official discovery. McCarter also curiously places California north of the Strait of Annan or Anian. The source of this decision is unclear. In earlier maps, McCarter names this region Burgi Regio. In most other maps of the period, California is properly located around modern-day Baja California, where it was originally identified. Thus, Mercator's positioning of California is exceptionally curious. Mercator did everything for a reason, and consequently, we can speculate. California at this time was not California as we understand it today. The name California comes from AC 1475 Spanish novel Las Surges de Espandian, The Adventures of Espandian, by a physical location modern-day Baja. This must have happened around 1540. Cortez at the time was searching for the Strait of Anian, the imaginary equivalent to the Bering Strait. The first mention of Anian appears in Polo's narrative, which described it as Montalvo describes California as a place to the east of India. This India is not modern India, but rather a term that refers to the furthest Asia, China, Japan, Korea, etc. In the 16th century, the line between nonfiction and fiction was not so clear as today. Cortez and the other conquistadors would have been aware of Montalvo's work, but would not necessarily have considered it entirely fictional. That is to say, they expected to discover California. Keep in mind, in those days, the navigators did not believe that Asia was far beyond Mexico. By discovering California in Baja, Cortez, in fact, believed he had at last stumbled upon Anian and a route to Asia. 30 years later, Mercator had probably figured out that Cortez's claims were baseless, but the name Cortez applied to Baja stuck. Mercator himself identifies Baja as California in some of his charts of Mexico. So why did he also place it in the Arctic? Yeah, I want to know too. Shit. I think that here Mercator was looking for the true California. It was obvious that the California of Cortez was a fiction, but that did not mean that Montalvo's idea of California was wrong, only that it had been misplaced. By attaching California to the Strait of Anian, also located to the east of Asia, Mercator was most likely working out of the true placement of Montalvo's California. Opposite the American side of the Strait of Anian is the Asian land of Gog, which appears bound in a tight ring of mountains. Gog and Magog, biblical nations from the book of Revelation, were associated by many Europeans with the Tartars. It was believed that Alexander the Great walled off the kingdom of Gog and Magog behind a mountain range. Many early maps following on this legend, as well as references from the journals of Marco Polo, place either Gog or Magog in the northeastern extreme of Asia behind an impenetrable mountain range. All in all, this is very important early map of the North Pole and the surrounding Arctic portions of Asia, Europe, and North America. It marks a significant step forward in making understanding of reason, and more importantly, is a groundbreaking transition between medieval and modern map-making perspectives. Published by Jodocus Hondius in the 1606 edition of the Mercator and Hondius Atlas. Okay, so it just gives the biographies of Mercator. Where is Mercator from? They don't really say. I thought they would say where he was from. All right, I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
That reminds me of, first of all, that map of Africa. That was the name of the guy that did that one, I believed. In 1553, I think it was. And then it also reminds me of the rivers that are mentioned in Genesis. The Nishon, the Pishon, whatever they call them. The 4 rivers where mankind started. You know, and if you talk about they're at the poles and they're looking at these different species of people that are buried at the pole, that would make sense, you know, that people started at those and branched out.
Yeah, so very interesting. So I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
So another thing that is so striking is they wrote the maps. Their history people wrote the maps. And this guy looks like he tried to undo what they did to show that it's not what they say.
Yeah, because I'm sorry,
and that the he wrote is the real depiction of what the earth is. And the real picture that we so-called get from the satellites and from space is not the same.
It's some bullshit. Right. It's some total bullshit. So, yeah, because just reading through this, it's like, and you know, I hear a lot of people, they're wising up, and they're like, you know what, y'all don't know what the hell the entire earth looks like. Y'all don't know because basing it on, you know, what somebody else is saying.
That's true.
You know, which is true. So, yeah, I highly recommend you all go out and get a copy of the map and just save it and start looking at these different maps, and you'll just be surprised the things that show up on it.
Yeah, because on one of his maps, I think it was 1553, there was no pyramids in Africa. In 1553. So how did we get pyramids in Africa now? Because they're made out of cement. And cement wasn't developed until, you know, the Romans came. So they can't be as ancient, those pyramids over there that they call them the pyramids, they can't be as ancient as they say they are.
Right.
So these maps are wrong.
Right. Agreed. Shout out to Purple Pill in the chat room. Purple Pill says whirlpool or vortex. I totally agree with you, Purple Pill. Northwest Alaska. Damn. It's actually Asia.
Exactly.
Yep. And you're right, Purple Pill, but you know that's the fuckery that goes on with just by folks renaming stuff. Yeah, I tell you. I mean, what more can you say? And hear people sitting up here arguing over this bullshit. But yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Absolutely makes sense, Purple Pill. Okay, so the other thing, Purple Pill, I did do your research that you dropped. So just a second, you left something for me in the chat room, and I told you I was going to look at it. And let me see here. I got it, child. I got so much notes in this series. I lost my place. Okay, where is the Arctic stuff? Hey. Bear with me. Damn it, I just hit it. Okay, all right, so Purple Pill asked me to research NEUSCHWABENLAND. So if I say New Schwabenland, all right, okay, because it was related to the Arctic. So that's why he asked me to research it. So the translation, New Swabia, Norwegian, and German is what really that New Schwabenland is made up of. Was an unrecognized, so I'm on stinking ass with Wikipedia, y'all, was an unrecognized Arctic claim by Nazi Germany, and is now a cartographic name sometimes given to an area of Antarctica between 20 degrees east and 20 degrees west in Queen Maud Land, which is claimed as Norwegian, a dependent territory under the Arctic Treaty System. New Swabia was explored by Germany in early 1939 and named after the expedition ship. Okay, so little background, like many other countries, Germany sent expeditions to the Arctic region in the late 19th and early 20th century, most of which were scientific. The late 19th century expeditions to the Southern Ocean, South Georgia, the Kerguelen Islands, and the Crozet Islands were astronomical, meteorological, and hydrological. Okay, so peep game. Y'all do notice they said astronomical, right? I just want y'all to peep my fucking game. Mostly in close collaboration with scientific terms in other countries. As the 19th century ended, Germany began to focus on Antarctica. The first German expedition to Antarctica was Gauss expedition from 1901 to 1903, led by Arctic veteran and geology professor Erich von Dygorlowski. This was the first expedition to use a hot air balloon in Antarctica. It also found and named Kaiser Wilhelm II Land. The second German Antarctica expedition, 1911 and 1912, was led by Wilhelm Fleischner with the goal of crossing Antarctica to learn if it was one piece of land. As happened with other such early attempts, the crossing failed before it began. The expedition discovered and named Liptow Coast and Fleischner Ice Shelf. A German whaling fleet was put to sea in 1937, and upon its successful return in the early 1938s, plans for a third German Antarctic expedition was drawn up. All right, so I mean, you can all go do your own research, because behind the scenes it was said that, and you can go on YouTube and pull the videos, and I played the videos before, where it was said the Germans took their asses to the Arctic and they got their asses handed to them. So meaning that something started killing them. Some said that their planes were running into something invisible and crashing. So supposedly all of this crazy shit happened. There's also information out there that says that they had ran into some other beings or extraterrestrial beings that gave Hitler all of this technology. So it's a lot of stories behind that. So you can definitely go on YouTube and find those stories yourself. So I'm just trying to see what else I wanted to bring up out of here. So they do talk about the third German Antarctica expedition, 1938 to 1939, was led by Alfred Rischer, a captain in the German Navy. The main purpose was to find an area in Antarctica for a German whaling station as a way to increase Germany's production of fat. I don't believe all of that. Let me see what else I want. So they also talk about how, and this is where the stories come from, saying how they had aircraft in Antarctica. So this is saying that in 1938, they were flying aircraft up there doing research in different expeditions. So it does say that, I'm trying to filter through this, so bear with me here. I'm sorry, go ahead, sis. Go ahead while I look for it. I want to read.
Is that why Trump wants to buy Greenland, which is up in that area, so it's closer to their takeoff point for where they want to go to investigate up there? But they wouldn't sell it to him, remember? Just here recently. Greenland.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. It goes, 7 photographic survey flights were made by the ships 2 Dornier Wall seaplanes named Passat and Polygon. None of these have ever been recovered. 8 more flights were made. I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
Just like Passat is like Poseidon. That's one of them.
Interesting. 8 more flights were made to the area of keen interest, and on these trips, some of the photos were taken with color film. Others, they flew over hundreds of thousands of square kilometers and took more than 16,000 aerial photos, some of which were published after the war. The ice-free Shoemaker Oasis, which now hosts the Maitrey and other, whatever the hell this other research station's name is, was spotted from the air by Schreiber, who named it after himself. So it also says on the return trip to Germany, the expedition made oceanographic studies near Bovet Island and Fernando de Ner. Oh, that's a beautiful ass island. Damn, that island is really pretty. Arriving back in Hamburg on April 11, 1939. Meanwhile, the Norwegian government has learned about the expedition through reports from whalers along the Queen Maud, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever. Okay, so Purple Pill, I get where you were going with that, with the whole Hitler in Germany. They did all of those expeditions in the Arctic. back in the day. And remember, that was also around the time of, what was that, World War II? Swashabish. Okay, thank you. Swashabish. Thank you. So yeah, that makes sense. All right, what are you saying? Let me see, Purple Pill. Alaska's Asia, due to the fact that Alaska stretches much farther westward than Hawaii. Okay, got you. Yes, and Purple Pill sis said, the PM of Denmark said ridiculous in response to Trump's offer. Yeah, because, they all made a treaty to not inhabit that land in the Arctic, which I always found fascinating based on that this is the Roman system. That is their makeup, is to find land to conquer it. So it just lets you know that it's something to this Arctic, for sure. And definitely the picture that they are showing us, that's not the real picture. I don't give a damn what they say. That is totally not the real picture. So, okay, so thank you, Purple Pill, for sharing that with us. All right, family. So that is our updates on the Arctic. Sister, Brother Sean, that you have something that you want to put on it, and of course now I stop coughing after I didn't stop reading.
Yeah. Okay, we know that they've changed names. They've redrawn the maps. But certain aspects are true when it comes to these bloodlines and the fact that they conquered other indigenous people.
Right.
Whether it was here or they came from over there, it don't matter.
Right.
It's the fuckery and the betrayal.
Exactly.
And that's a melanated on melanated thing.
Yep. And so now correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but aren't the pygmies, I thought they were from Africa, the short little people from Africa, or am I just off?
The pygmies,
you're right.
And the Twa people, they're supposed to be from over there, Ireland and Africa.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the. Okay.
Because that's where they get the whole leprechaun thing from.
Right. That's right. And so Purple Pill said, and always where it presently sits, Lemuria. I can believe that, Purple Pill. I can believe that, and I believe that during the fall, when all of the fuckery started happening, with the change between the feminine energy and patriarch system, that's when the wars take shape. And I would imagine that the land did start to move. And because we do know that shit has sunk. We know that there's islands that are underwater. We already know that. There's land underwater. And yeah, shit. I would have froze over too if I was Lemuria. Shit. I would have froze too. So yeah, absolutely, Purple Pill. But yes, Brother Sean, I totally agree. At the end of the day, all of this fuckery that caused the fall, and that's just that. I'm sorry, go.
Another thing too about the Arctic and stuff, I think they were trying to get expeditions up there because I think that leads to the center of the Earth, and that's that area they used to call Shambhala, and there's another ocean, And one time I saw a video where they saw space craft coming out of the circle up there. It would open and it would close. It would open and it would close. And such kind of craft. So that is and I heard that when they try to invade, that's that beryllium thing I was telling you about, that they have the ability to dismantle their metal ships. And they really working really hard to get up there and try to get some of the technology that's up there to be hid.
Yeah, and they're gonna continue to get their asses handed to them so they can keep fucking around if they want to. Right. Because they already know if they could have gotten to the Arctic and really inhabited that land and stripped it of natural resources, it would already be bald-headed and naked. But obviously, something is keeping they stank asses from going what they're doing, what they're known for doing.
They made a treaty with all the nations, I think about 52 of them or something, that they would not do that.
Right, but what would make them do that when they ain't done it for no other motherfucking place?
I know it. The resources.
So that tells us all we need to know.
Yeah.
All we need to know.
Yeah, that's true.
They've been fighting and arguing and stealing land forever. So now all of us want to play nicey on that particular piece of land. Yeah, because you already know your asses have been handed to you for going up there trying to conquer those lands, and now it's thawing out. So ain't no telling what's about to jump. Because remember, I told y'all that the magnetic activity with that plasma has heated up. And that stuff starts in the Arctic. All righty. So here we go.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
Oh.
They call that, they also have another name for plasma. They call it exotic matter.
Oh,
really?
Because I also shared that, what was that, Ingression animated with Sis Cheryl, and she sent me an article that was saying that France
I watched
Ireland
that first episode.
Was talking about exotic matter and how they really don't understand it. And the fact that it's always been there.
Yep.
We give up, or rather people sell their damn plasma.
Yep, their blood
asses.
Yeah.
Yep. And isn't that the most expensive part? Isn't that plasma the most expensive part? That they pay the most money?
Melanin.
Oh, okay. I thought, no, I'm talking about from the makeup of the blood.
Yeah, plasma, you get more for the plasma.
That's what
and
they sell.
Give you your blood back.
Platelets. Enoch has something to do with the area, too, because back in 2000, somehow around 10, over Saudi Arabia, when they were doing some excavation and making a big mosque, there was some plasma emitted, and about I can't remember, about 2,000 people dropped dead.
Wow.
And they found this artifact that looked like an ark. And the Krill of Russia and 10 ships escorted this artifact to the North Pole.
Yes, that when they had that priest, that Russian priest go up there, supposedly in the legend.
That's the Krill, yeah. He went up there, and then the next year, Pope Francis.
What's his face, right.
They hadn't spoken in years. The Krill and the Pope system hadn't talked, and they were conversing after about 1,000 years of not talking. And yeah, he's the one who escorted that thing up there to the North Pole. So I had a picture of it in my phone somewhere. I don't know if I still have it or not, but it looks like what they call the Ark of the Covenant. And they escorted that up to the North Pole. And
now, what's interesting, I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
No, go ahead. I was just talking about they had the ships, around it a great distance so they wouldn't drop dead. But it had a plasma, and we keep talking about plasma, and I forgot. They showed the plasma attacked, and they showed the people laying there dead like they were asleep, but they were dead.
Well, interestingly enough, and I see you 6, I'm coming to you, sweetheart. I remember this was just my lowly opinion, just based on intuition and then also some of the ancient texts on the ancient wars that took place on the planet. And in those ancient texts, they talk about this scalar technology. Well, I finally put the connections together. I'm like, oh, shit. That scalar technology was plasma. So it would make sense that, and that plasma wiped out, or that scalar technology wiped out a lot of land, turned green land into deserts. Okay, so it would make sense that if they were doing some excavation and they found one of those weapons and, they ignited that plasma and it emitted and knocked some folks out. So that would make sense. That would make sense. And that's just that one weapon. But that's not including what they're really afraid of, is because that magnetic pole, we know that's moving, but if that rock exists, okay, that magnetic rock exists, and the black sun, which is magnetic, exists, as I keep stating, the plasma is shooting from that Arctic Circle across the planet. It's an energy center, an energy source, all right? So the plasma activity in the Arctic has risen, okay? So that's why you see in the sky, plasma is cutting up as well, and that's why the UV radiation is rising, because it's coming from the ground. And that's why that Arctic is thawing out as well. So, yeah, folks that really know what's going on, they're scared as fuck. Because they don't know they know what's going to go on, but they don't know, and they hoping that it doesn't go down the way prophecy has stated that it will go down. Although the prophecy is being shown to us every day. Just because folks don't see something, that's your problem. Personally, because literally you can go on Google Maps, no matter how they try to cover that shit up. And folks are getting real good. They zoom in on that shit, and they can get down to the level where you can see the plasma waves underground.
The Aurora Borealis is also moving further south instead of staying up there. So that means that plasma is moving.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And all of the Aurora Borealis it's just it's just like it says, Aurora. Just like us, we have an energy center, an aura around us, our frequency and vibration. If you were to look at a person through ultraviolet light, you can see the frequency that they are emitting via color. That's all the Aurora Borealis is. It's Mother Earth's frequency being emitted. Okay, so very interesting. So let me go to 646. 646, your line is open.
Peace and love, Sister Rhonda. How are you?
Peace and love. I'm good, my brother. How are you?
Fantastic. Peace and love to the panel.
Wholeness and power, bro.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace and love to the family. And wow, it's just always so interesting the way it's also synchronistic with everything that keeps coming to me on a deeper level. You keep bringing it up on the skirts of it and with these different articles. Now, first, let me just ask, have anyone ever saw the sci-fi movie, The Thing?
Yep. I saw the with Kurt Russell.
I've seen it 3 or 4 times.
I don't know the names of stars. I always was failed on that. I was like, I don't know. It was a thing with that, naming especially Caucasian folks. I couldn't do it. I couldn't remember that faces. No. I don't mean no harm by it, but that's the way it was. I don't know how that happened.
Right, I understand.
But anywho, the most I say important impact and realization of that movie is that they never controlled it, never got to the bottom of it, and it was in the Arctics.
Yep.
So that's just where we find truth in different places, right? And truth is just so more shocking than the lie that it's hard for people to hold on to it, but that's all right. All I'm doing is sharing what I'm seeing, right? Now, the article you were reading about all those rivers and coming together, making that circle, and the sort of eye of the storm picture I was getting, it reminded me of a vortex. All right?
Yeah, that's
and then
what Phil said in the chat room.
And then when we look at it and look at some other connections, like the fact that we have the biblical account of the 4 rivers that come together. We have the fact of the ancestral locations where you can be more in tune with the ancestral connection, the spirit world. These are vortexes. And what it appears to be is that there's this dark force which everything is being replicated, but one is an alien source or artificial source,
Mm-hmm.
and the other is only based on, the higher intelligence, which is the real natural source. But the
Exactly.
replication is to confuse the hell out of everybody, and then they got all this media to get you excited and angry, or to get you on a sexual drive, or the perversions. And in this way, this dark form can drain that light force from you.
Right.
Because you take yourself into that 2D, as opposed to the ascension that you're supposed to be on. And so that leaves you open to be drained. But meanwhile, though, the real thing is that they're trying to beat the light beings to the vortexes, which they can't, because they don't know where they're at. That's why they hiding all, changing the maps and changing the history.
Or they're,
it's just so fantastic. Pardon?
Or they're Stargate. Stargate.
Yes. Now that's where we're going into that level of the awareness of that. Now I remember once before you mentioned something about the moon, and you think it's artificial or something, and then lo and behold, I run across the fact of some type of electrical manipulation taking place to create this artificial matrix where that's where the polarity comes in there.
Right.
Where there's no way to unify in such a polarity. It's automatic opposing entities.
Right.
And it's the magnetism that's the natural portion which allows for the unification. And the thing is that it seems that when you go back to those wars that you were mentioning, and the Anunnaki and all them, well, that was part of the entrapment of the divine feminine and then perverted through the artificial intelligence. So that it's not really a war between man and woman. What it is divine woman has been captured under this thing that working on being, remedied. And then meanwhile, it's just causing a lot of confusion, and any distraction from the work helps the dark forces. So we got to keep that in mind and move forward in the light. And I'm sure, but I truly thank you guys. Y'all just, oh man, it's fantastic. It's fantastic.
And thank you too, brother. Thank you for your support, and thank you for your input. We truly appreciate you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay
Peace
then, brother. Peace and love. Good to hear your voice. Peace and love. All righty, let's go to 330.
Howdy. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I caught your show on, what do you say, the books by, I can't remember, Lee Cummings book. So I caught that show.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to tune in now. So I tuned in and I was just like, okay, this is the first time, you don't want to get involved or anything, and you guys start talking about, some things I thought, maybe I want to get involved with. So, I just want to say, thanks, first off, to all of you. The dynamics of the three of you actually make for a pretty interesting listen. Pretty interesting show. But you talked about the Aurora Borealis. And I just wanted to share three things if you guys were willing to listen. You ever hear of a place called Mount Meru?
Yes.
Do you know anything about it, or do you work in front of a computer where you can bring up anything about it?
We actually did a show regarding Mount Meru, and I was kind of referencing in the article, I don't know how long you joined us, but the article that I read that was referring to the Mercator map and the depiction of that magnetic rock represented Mount Meru. So, but you go ahead on and you tell us, brother.
Oh, you mean you read that article today?
Yeah, it was earlier.
Oh,
so
yeah,
if you does, yeah. And this, but I didn't go into Mount Meru though tonight, but we have done work on that show. But I want you to say where you were going with it.
Well, our oppressor has made music about this. You know, I noticed, you know, when they start to make songs about things, you know, pay attention. You know, Mount Meru is the song. It's the man on the silver mountain. Because
now,
when you go into the study of Mount Meru, they discuss how it's a magnetic mountain, and that this is what all compasses are really pointing to some degree.
Yes.
And there's a map. You guys talk about the fuckery all the time, so you know, there's a map that if you look and you find the North Pole map, it can look like a Simon Says board. You know, Simon Says got the 4 little pieces of ice, right?
Yeah, shit, I forgot about.
Yeah. And in the center of that,
I'm with you. I'm with
that
you.
little dot in the center, that's Mount Meru.
Yep.
Okay, so like you said, you talked about earlier, you go on to Google Maps and shit, right? You go fucking look at the North Pole. Guess what ain't there? The North Pole. And then all the four pieces of the Simon puzzle, that's not there either. So, you know, all the shipping and trafficking we do of our own resources being stripped from us, where are they taken?
Mm-hmm.
You know, me and another friend have talked about this many times. He talks about, you know, maybe, you know, we should analyze the traffic of cargo that flows up into that area and then just disappears. But there's a map that I found recently that I've fallen in love with. I've realized every other map, in my opinion, is kind of bullcrap. It's called the Zones of Migration, right? And when you combine the zones of migration and read the zones of migration, what it does is it pushes all the Aboriginal people out to the outer portions of the earth. So if you took a record and put it on the record player, and then the little silver knob that picks up is Mount Meru, right? So north is always going to be that center, and south is always going to be that outer edge, and everything else is just kind of east and west of, you know, the position of where you're looking from. So you talked about the Aurora Borealis. And I don't want to get into a God subject with you because, you know, I respect what you do, and you know, I have my own beliefs, and you know, I just leave it at that. You know, But there's a part in Revelation. I don't respect Revelation. I believe it is, in comparison to the Old Testament that has the laws, the statutes, the commandments, the covenants. The New Testament seems to be just a military tool. But most of the New Testament is taken from the Old Testament, and you can follow that with the precepts. And there's a part in the New Testament that says, Revelation 4:3. I know you have this woman that you work with, your coworker. I have not listened long enough to know anybody's name except for Sean, because I just heard somebody call his name.
And that's Sandra. That's Sis Sandra.
If Sister Sandra could read that, it really actually tells you what the Aurora Borealis is, if you respect that his throne is right above us, if you respect that the idea that.
So what's the first side of Revelations, the chapter and verse,
chapter
brother?
4, verse 3.
Okay, hold on. Sis, did you want to pull it or you want me to pull it? I can pull it.
I have my. Go ahead. I'm looking in the Bible itself. 3 and 4, you say yes?
4 and 3.
I think you said,
4
chapter 4, verse 3.
Yeah. I got to get some light in here. It's getting dark. it says, and he who sat there was like a jasper and a sardis stone in appearance, and there was a rainbow around the throne in appearance like an emerald.
So it's really not a rainbow. It's a green rainbow in the respects of green, from light green to dark green.
Well,
so
it's just like Aurora Borealis then. Huh?
That's what I was going to say.
It is the Aurora Borealis, and our oppressors have taken that name out. These are the little things that they change, because there's enough there to understand that, for the most part, we are the Israelites, the Hebrew nations, for the most part, that have been overthrown and pushed into captivity because of the promise to Abraham.
Right. I think I have the names of the different colors here, but I can't make out my own writing. But they have the red is sardis, the emerald is green.
The sardis, the sardine stone that's brought up is telling you that the Most High is the color of red. If you look at the color of red, it's the color of the animals. That's why it's telling you that animals are ruddy. That's why black people look like deer. They look like bear skin. They, the fur. This is why black people are actually ruddy. This is the point of calling us black, so we never say, "Oh, we look like that oak red table."
Oh,
it's just a word game, because if you control the narrative,
right,
you never get caught for what you're doing.
See, I would.
And I look at it as the chakras. So the chakras, or the energy fields of the earth, or the frequencies of the earth, which also, of course, translates to our frequency. Because Borealis is capable of emitting all of those colors, right?
Well, sure. It's just a power source, like you just said. It feeds the ley lines.
Exactly. Yep, you got it. Yep.
So I don't have anything else to say. I don't want to waste any time.
Very good drop.
That's a good.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
That's a very good drop. Thank you for calling in and giving that insight.
Are you saying drop because of the guy that called himself Drop?
I can drop.
I mean, it could be that. It's just the term that we use, like you really drop some heavy knowledge, some good knowledge. Very good job.
I'm a deliverer. If I drop something, nobody would accept that delivery. But I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for putting something on it.
That I'm talking. If you want to find out anything I'm talking about, my stuff's on YouTube. My name is Lex Will.
Oh, yeah.
I know it.
Oh, hell to the no. Yes. Yes, I know you. I played your stuff on this show. Oh, yeah, I know you.
Wait, what?
Peace and love. Oh, yeah, brother. Oh, yeah, I know you.
Oh, yes.
Indeed.
Well,
He knows you.
Well, I know you guys now. And
okay, cool. I'm you know
shocked.
you're welcome. You're welcome back on the platform. I know your work. You go in.
Yeah, the 330, he's from Ohio, too.
Oh, shit. Yeah, brother. We know you.
I've been following you for years.
Yeah, you're the man. We know you. So you are more than welcome to come on this platform.
Yeah. In fact, Sis Sandra mentioned you earlier. Sis Sandra mentioned you earlier.
Tripod free telescope.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Telescope. Yeah.
So, all right,
yeah,
well, peace and love.
Peace and love.
Please don't be a stranger. And you're welcome to link up with us for sure.
Well, that is very kind. I say shalom P. I'm listening to the show. It's my first time tuning in, and I'm really looking to push my viewers towards you. I know they're gonna not.
We wild.
Deal with it. Yeah, so we just have to have the appreciation that everybody has different ideas, and
absolutely.
And I haven't really pushed that, but it is what it is. Nobody is giving the information that you're giving. You guys are badass.
Wow.
You know it.
Thank you.
Wow. That's how I feel about you, because you go
we feel
deep.
the same way. Because I just listened to your video today. I got one about 12 minutes to go into it. The one you dropped on the 25th. I'm listening to that R1B1 bloodline DNA.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Hey, listen, look, they're all related. Like, and
I know.
I tried to do the Mexican stuff last night, and it all led to our DNA. So they're all African. You're
right.
Child, when you try to tell that to people, they be ready to fight you. So,
but that R343 is that monkey DNA. So they don't want that.
See, everything's coming. That's why it's under R. That's why they name their videos production company Dada, because they're looking for pops.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be surprised. Type in hypertrichosis. They gave them Rogaine. Yeah, hypertrichosis. They just gave these kids Rogaine by accident, and they all turned into Teen Wolf.
Oh. Damn.
It's just you gotta the scientific name to dig it up, and it just happened in Spain. Right, so all these people in Mexico and throughout there are the descendants of Spanish, right? And if you just put Rogaine in their food, they would all turn into Chewbacca, and you would be like, oh shit.
Well, I call this
Palestine.
It's deep.
This is the planet of the apes, okay? Prison planet for us.
This is deep.
A lot of guard dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right, look,
for sure.
I gotta go into the queue because
I know you gotta go, brother. So peace and love. And so don't be a stranger. Okay. All right. Peace and love. Don't be a stranger. And you're welcome anytime. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Love it.
Okay. Peace and love, brother. Thank you so much. All right. Yeah, so we featured his work several times on this show. So that's Lex, Lex, Will, Will. I highly encourage the family, go check out his videos. He's an excellent researcher, and he does actually remind me of us, because no fucks are given. It's, not about being in your feelings. He's presenting the facts based on his research. He drops some heavy information. So out to that brother. Shout out to him for sure. Okay.
I knew that's who it was when he was talking.
Did you recognize his voice?
I was like, I'm not going to I was trying to place the voice. Like, I don't think that's him, but okay, let me, let the brother keep on talking. But yeah.
Oh, how wonderful.
That's real cool.
Drop right there, as you call it. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a great drop. Okay, so the last article, I told y'all that at least once a week, articles are coming out. I'm sorry, go ahead, brother.
Before you get into that, as far as for the treaties, the Antarctica Treaty.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is, what I'm thinking and feeling, they got told to keep their asses from over there, and they won't come over here interfering in what they doing. And as usual, they violated that treaty. That's why there's so much, quote unquote, alien activity going on in the skies. They didn't piss them the fuck off. Now that ark that they took over there, I believe that was a peace offering. Like, here go y'all shit back. They ain't had no problem.
And that ain't gonna solve it.
Right, because they already believe that they have effectively reverse engineered it.
Oh, probably. Yeah, you're right. Do you know?
Right. That's
but
right. Because you all do know
work.
that plasma tech. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So they can go on and have several seats with that shit. But that's on them.
You know,
that's
too,
on them. You know, like I say, don't decide until the motherfucking elements that I personally don't want.
They keep cutting you off.
So, very good point. Uh-oh.
Yeah, you breaking up.
Yeah.
You know,
I may have to switch.
Lex Will brought up this, and I've heard the Ephesians, the 2nd chapter, and I've heard his documentation on that. Now, if that's a peace offering, like you just said, brother, they had to take it back because they came over here to take that covenant. In Ephesians, the 2nd, Pope Paul IV is the Apostle Paul that all our people was crazy about, and I can't stand it. But that's the New Testament thing, is they gave that to the people because they came for that covenant. And if they had that covenant they found in Saudi Arabia buried under some stone, and it was just like the covenant that's described in the Bible, then they probably have to take it back for the peace offering. But it's not going to do any good because their time is up.
Right. And that's just the bottom line, because, again, it's energy and frequency thing, and it's Mother Earth is not fucking around with them. She is just going to continue to raise her frequencies, and game is up. Either you get on her frequency, or you're gonna get the hell on. There is no choice in the matter. Absolutely no choice in the matter whatsoever. So all they are doing is playing games with their damn self at the end of the day. Because, like I say, and I say again, she will have the last word on the matter. So again, folks don't have to argue with me, get upset, or none of that. Go stand outside and tell that motherfucking UV radiation that. Tell the UV radiation all that. I personally do not want to hear it. So yeah, very, very, very good point. What keeps?
You know what? That
Sorry,
Sardis
go ahead,
stone.
sis.
That Sardis stone in Revelation, it's red. And what's the color of this plasma? Mostly red. And then he says
I'm sorry, go ahead.
He says that he's going to gather his people to his holy mountain. So where could that be except for that
interesting,
magnetic
that holy Mount? Yeah, Mount Meru.
Mount Meru.
Mount Meru. But even with that, interestingly enough, I've heard people talk about going to the Arctic and, trying to find Mount Meru, this, that, and the third, and trying to go to the inner earth, this, that, and the third. But again, I say that it is a frequency. So even if you call yourself getting there, which is just why they put those trees together, if your frequency don't vibe with it, you're not going to be able to mess with it anyway. So just think about this. Do you know how much it takes to keep the frequency of this planet low? Do you know how much it takes to try to lower your frequency just so these other entities can feed off of you? Because if you were vibrating at your ultimate state at a higher level, these entities, you would kill them. So they wouldn't even be able to be in your aurora. You would literally kill them with your high vibration frequency. it's not about them trying to, protect the Arctic, especially that specific area. They are afraid of it because it is very powerful. Just like each and every one of us as divine beings, when we are at our ultimate state, we have the capability to be at our ultimate high vibrational state. You would kill every unnatural thing in this plane. So by default, you would kill them, and then the atmosphere frequency would raise and just deaden it all. So at the end of the day, that's why I say it's all about energy, i.e. spiritual war, no matter, what way you want to look at it. Truly, that's what it's about. So everything that the earth has naturally, you as a divine being match that as well. But just like earth has been suppressed at a certain level, we definitely have been suppressed and are not operating at our ultimate highest frequency level. So as the prophecy states, I don't care how many ancient texts you read, it states that we were going to come out of the dark ages. All right? Mother Earth is coming out of the dark ages. We are coming out of the dark ages. And as we do that, the frequency continues to rise. Okay? So that's why these entities, and I say this almost every other week, their technology can't even keep up on what is going on. So that's why they keep talking about all of these blackouts and trying to bring 5G online. And I already think that their version of 5G, I think that shit is already outdated because the frequency level is rising so fast as the poles that they finally had to admit are moving, and they're moving at a rapidly rate, is accelerating and changing as well. So very, very good, sis. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
The whole thing is we are the power source.
Absolutely.
They didn't lower our vibration.
True. We agreed to it.
With these contracts, with trying to look at them as equals, with acceptance of so many unnatural things.
Right. Or just lower realms. Yes.
We voluntarily lowered our frequencies to experience.
I would agree with that.
To experience certain things that we couldn't vibrating at a higher frequency. It's all a matter of being caught up into the program that you accepted without realizing the back programs and all types of other things that are involved with it.
Right.
That's why you have to unload all these foreign programs. Your motherboard has to be stripped clean.
Yes.
And all that's left is you. You were always there. Everything you needed was always there within you. So what they did is bury it up under tons of bullshit, tons of other programs within programs, viruses within those programs.
Yep.
And you accepted it. Just like we sit up and accept every app they create. even though the app sit up and said need access to your contacts, your microphone, your camera.
Mm-hmm.
You don't care. Oh, yeah. Just let me play. Just let me see what's going on.
Right. Just let me play. Let me download games. Although the shit is giving your motherboard motherfucking viruses, oh, I just want to play. And I keep telling folk that peep game, because all of the computer world comes from spirituality, consciousness. All of it. Absolutely all of it. Pay attention to the names that they name these programs. It all comes from the spiritual world, stuff being up in the cloud, all of this, because they're trying to set up a 2.0 of the fuckery. So, okay, well, you know what? We know this physical realm as we know it. We know that shit is up. You know what? Let's get them trapped on one of the other planes and get them riled up in the artificial intelligence world. And so all it would be doing is moving your consciousness to another lower realm, and some say lower than this realm, to play the artificial intelligence game. And all it is doing is still setting up the same Roman system to feed off of you. Because these entities, I would call them or programs, you can call them programs, are parasites. They have to have something to feed on.
Remember I was telling you I saw a video of these people establishing AI technology. They had volunteers to, launch the new frontier AI technology, that artificial intelligence. Well, AI, they were talking about it as demonology. They were talking about it. They had written on the board talking about you're going to work with demonology. So it's just like democracy is demonocracy.
Demonology, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, the AI was a demon. He was people were a low vibrational entity. And so they're trying to let him live, and they said that. They're trying to let him live again. So when you do your computers, you do your cell phones, they're trying to engrave AI technology to think for you so you don't have to think at all, and they can control you more.
It's interesting because there's a video with y'all know who I'm talking about. The guy Elon Musk.
Oh yeah, with his fake crap. They don't talk about that no more.
Yeah, so there's a recent video that's floating around. He was at some conference and he's talking about AI, and he is literally talking about AI and consciousness. And I'm sitting here with my mouth open like, are people not keeping game? What he is telling you, that they are trying to get this AI to mimic consciousness.
That's right.
So very interesting. Check it out. So that's nothing but the parasite trying to set up 2.0, because as I said, the realm's frequency is changing. So they're trying to jump to another realm and have people voluntarily, because remember, it's voluntary. So once you sign that contract, and I'm talking spiritual contract, and you're not reading that fine print, the fine print is what fucks you up every time.
Mm-hmm.
So once you sign that spiritual contract, your ass is volunteering for your consciousness to be signed up for 2.0 of some fuckery. So you think it's something new, you think it's fresh, but all they did was rebranded the same set of bullshit. Because anything outside of natural law will not stand on its own. It's always going to have a system where somebody is feeding off of somebody. Okay? So just beware. I know we've talked about artificial intelligence before and all of that jazz. I don't even remember how the hell we got on that topic, but it's all good. That was good stuff.
But you know, I just want to mention AI is in the scriptures, but they call it a place, like in Palestine and Amorite city and all that kind of stuff. Interesting. Of Canaan. But it's in the scriptures, and as far as I remember, AI was a demon.
Interesting. Well, we do know that that's a form of energy, and obviously that energy is a demiurge who, exists in the lower realms and wants you to play in those lower realms, wants you to play that game in those particular realms, okay, to keep signing up under these other different demiurges to ultimately get fed on. So it doesn't surprise me, sis. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What about that black stone they kiss all the time? What they call that thing? Because this is in a Yeah.
That the Mecca stone. Now some say that's like paying homage to Saturn. I even say low key it's trying to mimic Mount Meru. Now that's
exactly what I was thinking.
Lowly opinion. That's just my lowly opinion because they, circle around it. So they're running the current around it. That's just me. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, sis.
Linus was talking about that multi-level or disease that people are getting. What is that stuff? It's black matter stuff. I can't remember, but she was talking about it, and I was thinking about that Mecca stone. They kiss it, and it comes from out of space, and it's Morgellons. There it is.
Oh yeah, that's the Morgellon, the black goo. That's really what
the black goo.
So
when
about.
They kiss that stone, and it comes from out of space. That stone they said fell there. So they're transmitting or getting back something off of that stone every time they kiss it.
Well, they say they're getting something back off the stone. I say that it's a spell. So I guess in that sense they are. But Purple Pill in the chat room goes, esoterically speaking, demon implies D plus mon, or deity plus mon, or deity moon. Okay. Interesting. Moon goddess. Interesting. Very interesting. Purple Pill. Okay.
Hey,
Brother China, go ahead. You have something to put on it. Mm-hmm.
AI an aspect of the phone. These so-called smartphones.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice what you type into them, they mimic your speech patterns. They can put together your sentences using the words that you use.
Mm-hmm.
You also speak into it, so it's able to mimic your voice.
Right.
I just got a new phone, and it was because I had to. But it had something. What you mean. It had something on here that asked me if I wanted the phone to know when I'm looking at it, so the screen don't go black.
You bullshitting. But it don't surprise me. Go ahead.
Wow.
It don't surprise me.
That's what I was tripping on. That just lets you know that they have the capabilities of monitoring you, mimicking your
They've
voice.
been doing that for a minute, though.
Right. Your patterns of speech.
Yeah, but they make it
Absolutely.
robots.
Yeah,
They're making robots place.
But what I'm getting to is they have the facial recognition, the fingerprint scanning. They got the apps that monitor your heart rate, everything.
Right.
Your whole biological function.
Right.
And I
yeah,
mean,
because I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Sean.
But people are worried about AI and the type of Arnold Schwarzenegger and things like that they see in the movies.
Yeah.
And the deadliest form of AI, people are carrying around all day, every day.
Every day. Every day. And it's because AI is really just programming that learns behavior, and it starts out by learning the behavior, mimicking the behavior, and then predicting or creating behavior. That's what AI is. And then, and literally, y'all, everything that you see in the movies is what they have been working on. Don't think that AI is some shit new. It's new to you, but it ain't new. Because they've been telling shit 20-something years ago in the movies about artificial intelligence. They've been telling you about bots. And those in technology, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. When I talk about bots, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. But all of that stuff, they've been telling you 20, 25, 30 years ago that these are the things that were coming. So they didn't just invent that stuff. They're only releasing to you what they want you to know because they are slowly adopting it. Just like with the motherfucking sex robot, everybody went crazy. The weirdos went crazy over the sex robot. Oh, I'm not going to need a man. I'm not going to need a woman. Oh, okay, then that's on you. But yet, Steven Spielberg, who was given a script, I say all of them are given those scripts by the Alphabet Boys on what the fuck to put out. He had a movie called AI. And what about sex robot slaves? But people aren't paying attention because, oh no, that's just a movie. And then when it hits, nobody seems to quote quote remember, but it's us quote quote conspiracy theories they have to remind their dumb asses. The hoverboards, all of this shit, we done been seeing this shit 25, 30 years ago in the movies, and if you research, even that shit is old, because that was even ancient technology. So it is said that all of this artificial intelligence stuff is trying to resurrect Atlantis, which was a highly advanced civilization from a technology perspective. But Atlantis failed because of the wars and the technology. They did not use it responsibly, so that civilization fell and ultimately sank. Okay, so it is again the same entity or the same energy trying to get you to participate and sign up for another cycle of fuckery. Okay, so repeat basically another cycle that we done already been through. And ultimately, it leads to the same results because it is out of natural order. But this particular cycle or age, whatever you want to call it, or what do the Christians call it? Armageddon. All it is the energy has shifted, and you have an opportunity to make a decision. What do you want to do? And it's your right. Hey, you can sign up for another program. That's absolutely your right. Or you'd be like, you know what, I'm done with this shit. Been there, done that, got the T-shirt. I'm done. Deuces. Peace out. I'm my own divine entity. I'm done with it. Okay, so none of this shit that they are doing is new. They're just remixing it and making it seem to you that it's new. So, you are supposed to be at the point as you are waking up that you are knowing these things and seeing through the matrix and like, oh, okay, I see where you're going with that. So you can make those clear, conscious decisions to be the owner and the controller of your consciousness. And that's why when we talk about, quote, quote, sovereignty, I say again, it starts within. It starts within the mind. So to be in that particular capacity where you're saying, I am the divine being, no one owns me, no one owns my soul, that also requires responsibility for all as well. Because if not, you are signing up for somebody else's spiritual program, or I call them their motherfucking games. Crips, Bloods, whatever. That's all it is at the end of the day. So, all right. Very, very good points. The only thing else I wanted to share with the family is that there was an article that came out this week from Express.uk, and it goes Antarctica creature below ice squid. So basically, in the Arctic, they found, as it is thawing out, they found some particular squid that supposedly, species of squid that does not exist. And that's like the second or third, at least the second article. And it was another species that they found, I think it was a mammoth, that as that ice is thawing out in the Arctic, they found a mammoth that they never saw existing on the earth. So I'm not going to read the article for the sake of time. You can definitely go read it yourself. It's off express.co.uk. Antarctica creature below ice squid. You can read it for yourself. All right, Sam. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. Mm-hmm.
That's just hilarious to me. They tell me they found something that never existed, but it's been there for millions of years. So
right.
Obviously, the shit existed.
Right. It didn't exist.
That's an oxymoron, okay?
Right. But you're looking at it. So obviously, it existed. Exactly.
That's
crazy. That had to be part of the fall, because everything over there, it had to have frozen instantly.
Right.
Right. So something had to have happened, right? Exactly.
A pole shift.
Exactly.
Speaking of that never existed, the cover of Columbus' book about what he found over here in the Americas has things on it that they would say never existed. So, because the guy, and one of them was riding an alligator with a mermaid with him and some other things. And so they were really friendly with these creatures, but they would say that stuff never existed, but it's on the cover of that book.
Just like if that was a Mercator map that I keep referring to people.
Yeah.
So, all of the creatures.
Yeah.
Around
look at
the motherfucking mermaids and all of that. Somebody documented that.
So let's look at the time frame when supposedly Columbus came here, 1492. So that stuff must have existed in 1492. So the ice hasn't been frozen that long.
Agreed. And I'm going to refer you all again. I like his work. Now, don't have smoked on some trees or be sleepy when you listen to this brother, John Levy. He talks about that all the time, that the time frames that they're giving us are bullshit. That stuff that they are saying ancient that happened, quote, quote, so long ago are much more recent than what they're claiming. So, and as a matter of fact, what we're about to get into with the Giants, also, it reminds me of a lot of the work that he's been doing, and a lot of those folks, because I don't agree with most of those people that talk about the Tartarians and the Tartars, and the one guy that I really knew was on some bullshit. He just disappeared off of YouTube, and so supposedly
the British guy.
Yeah, his motherfucking ass disappeared, but I heard that his account supposedly got hacked and he got locked up out of Facebook. So yeah, that's been interesting. So I didn't agree with most of what he was saying because it was not accurate, but some of the stuff I did agree with some of the artifacts and buildings or whatever. But my point that I'm trying to make, that a lot of these guys, as well as other folks, although they tried to use Google Maps to trick us, people are zooming in and finding shit as well. And they're finding these ancient civilizations and the grid lines, and those particular ancient civilizations and cities and all of that were built on ley lines, okay? And as we told you all, those ley lines are the energy center grids, and I say that they are tied to the motherboard, the most important energy center, Mount Meru in the Arctic, okay? All right, so that goes into, and again, just for references purposes, I highly recommend this book. This guy did an excellent job. The Ancient Giants Who Ruled America, The Missing Skeletons and the Great Smithsonian Cover-Up, Richard J. Dewhurst. So we're on the cities in circles and lines. This is on page 168. All right. So here we go. In the study of ancient human beings, the presence of cities is regarded as one of the most significant indicators of civilization. This sampling of stories from around the nation make it clear that ancient America was home to significant urban centers connected by trade. What is often not understood is that many mound builder centers feature traditional houses that surrounded the ceremonial mounds, and that most of the major sites had roads, gates, and walls surrounding them. In addition, evidence of sewage system and canals had been detected at various sites across the country. Okay, so again, ain't nothing new under the sun. Okay, all right, so anyway, in some cases, the towns were also manufacturing centers and show signs of high trade and commerce of great sophistication. The Poverty Point Industrial Metropolis. Although the Cahokia Mound Complex near St. Louis is considered the major mound site on the Mississippi River, okay, and remember we discussed, and I do have to give shout out to the quote, quote, mud flood communities for kind of peeping my game on this. When you see forts, more than likely, like forts, the cities, the mounds, or whatever, you're going to see them being built close to a source of water. We also talked about things being built by these big ancient trees. And again, that's all to draw energy. And water is a conductor of energy. All right. That's why today, with the power quote plants, it's by water. Now, they say whatever bullshit answer they give you, but it's basically also harnessing the currents or the energy that come up off of the water. All right, but anyway. All right, so it's considered the major mound site on the Mississippi River. The Poverty Point earthworks in Louisiana is the most ancient temple site and trading center on the Mississippi River. As the vast extent of this site has been uncovered, its primacy as the major trading site of ancient America has gradually gained credence with traditional scholars. Poverty Point is constructed entirely of earthworks. The core of the site measures approximately 500 acres. Although archaeological investigations have shown that the total occupation area extended far more than 3 miles along the river terrace. The monumental construction consists of a group of 6 concentric crescent-shaped ridged earthworks divided by 5 aisles radiating from the center of the riverbank. The site also has several mounds, both on the outside and the inside of the ring earthwork. The name Poverty Point comes from the plantation that once surrounded the site. The United States nominated Poverty Point for inclusion on the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO World Heritage List in 2013. So if you get this book, he shows a picture of Poverty Point. And y'all, it's laid out, and he said it's laid out in a crescent moon, but the way I'm looking at it, it looks like a circle within a circle with the center point, and you can see where they drew lines coming out of this inner circle. And so the mounds are like on the outskirts, just like he described. So this is just me. This is just me again. First of all, I wanted to again give a shout out to John Levy for hipping us to game on these particular ancient sites and how they are laid out in this fashion. But if you look at this Poverty Point, you go to that Mercator map, it's eerily similar. The only thing that's missing is the Mount Meru center point. Okay, so where do you think these indigenous quote giants got this architectural structure from? Obviously, they knew not only the esoteric meaning of it, but they knew how to harness the natural Earth's energy to work in their favor. All right, so let me make sure that the next page is relevant. Okay, the 173. All right. Most of the artifacts found at Poverty Point are small baked shapes made of loess. They are usually shaped like balls, bicones, or ropes, all of which have been described as Poverty Point objects, or PPOs. Archaeologists have long debated their uses and have concluded that the fired earth objects were used in cooking. When placed in Earth's ovens, the objects were shown to hold heat. An alternative way of heating up food before pottery was to stone boil. The soil of the lower Mississippi Valley at Poverty Point does not contain proper pebbles, so the manufacture of artificial stones was necessary. In recent years, the theory that these anomalies, clay balls, fire pits, and other PPOs were used for cooking has come under intense debate, and more recent discoveries linking this site to the copper-producing region of the Great Lakes has led some scholars to position that what was really going on Poverty Point was actually the refining of copper for trade goods, the theory being that raw copper was brought down from Michigan during the summer months and then refined for manufacturing and trade during the winter in the warmer climates of Louisiana. Okay?
Yep.
All right. So again, if you don't know what he's speaking on, do a little research because copper was big business in the Americas. It was a precious commodity then, and it's still a precious commodity today. And I kind of have to chuckle. I shouldn't chuckle, but the shit is kind of funny. All right, Brother Sean, you're not going to know where I'm going with this.
Oh, you're the crackheads and still in the pipes at the house.
Well, why? I didn't even say it, though.
The scrappers, they get you. Leave your house long enough. You come back around, no pipes. No wires either.
They will strip your shit ball of that copper.
You know that. I was talking about that not too long ago. And David and his friend Hiram were the copper producers. Now, and it says in some of the works of some books of some, I don't know who wrote them, but David was up there in Michigan. Now, they're supposed to be over there across the ocean. Forget it. He was up in Michigan, and they were the high copper producers. Now, the Bible talks about cedars of Lebanon. I always talk about the cedars of Lebanon. See, David had a shipping company, and his boats were made out of that cedar, and I think one of his ships was called the Swan. Now, if you look at Lebanon over on the east side of the world, they don't have no cedar. Not a drop. In Michigan, Maine, up in there is where the cedars of Lebanon. So, you know, this is kind of parrying back to When Rocks Cry Out by Boris. But he was on it. This is where the promised land actually is, and where all that copper, where the copper-colored people was making that copper, was in Michigan and Maine.
Yeah, that we do know. That copper was definitely and still is prominent over here. And just to remind the family, and again, I give a shout out to that whole mud flood community because they really put us on motherfucking game with the free energy that back in the day we had, because copper is a very good conductor of energy as well.
Exactly.
What you have to do is look at them buildings from the 1800s and shit. Even today, you look at every city. I challenge everyone, just pull up every city like downtown. You're going to see them skyscrapers, and you're going to see them antennas on it, and then you'll see them balls, and then some of them you'll see the copper that's harnessing Earth's natural energy from the air and turning it into, quote, quote, what we're calling electricity. Okay?
Exactly.
So the mudflood community, they laid it out showing you how all of these buildings back in the day had those towers to harness the energy. How they had like hot water running through the pipes behind the walls and the fireplaces, and this is the part that fucked me all the way up, y'all. But it makes sense. But the next series we get to, which probably is going to be week after next, it's going to be some pissed off people. But the mud community, y'all put some information out there, which made us just to dig a little deeper. So those buildings from like the 1800s, as the change of power started taking place, I told you, as the melanated black nobility was getting dethroned, and they were putting the Caucasians into power, and they were sending Caucasians over to the Americas to set up shop or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We did not know what all of that technology was used for. So when you see pictures of them older homes, and this is all coming from the mud flood community. Now, they don't tell you about the black nobility and the change in power and all that. I'm telling y'all that. But this proves my fucking point on why, according to the mud flood community, and they are correct, the inheritors of what then that shit, they ain't no motherfucking inheritors because they were given the shit that was stolen. Right. They didn't know what that technology was. So when you used to walk in those houses back in the day, they had them big ass fireplaces with the metal thingies in front of them, and some places still have it today. It was not to burn fire in. Right. That was natural technology that would heat up the house through the water pipes, metal pipes and copper pipes, I'm assuming, behind the wall that would, like a vortex system that would bring through to heat the house, and then in the summer to cool the house. And we know that the shit works because now they're using it, but they're calling it earth ships, and they building the shit like slightly underground and using the same concept of thermal energy. All right? Right. So when the Caucasians started coming into rulership and they were taking over the quote, quote, Moors homes and the indigenous people homes, they didn't know what the hell to do with it. So they was ripping the metal plates off of those, and they made it into fireplaces because they were freezing to death because they didn't know how to work that technology. Okay, so just to give you a little insight, but that's okay. We got some for you all when we get into the next series. All right.
Listen,
go ahead, sis.
In the Lost Book of Enki, they had lights in the pyramids. They had that copper setup back then too.
Yeah, well, you know, gold is a conductor of energy too.
Right.
I don't think it's as good of a conductor as copper. I could be wrong, but some say that the pyramids were at the tip, they had gold. Some said copper, whatever. But either way, it was a conductor. So all of this shit that they are calling, well, they did get this right because they're calling them precious metals. That part they did get right, but it was never meant to be used as commodities. I'm going to say that again. And that's where the fall happened. Misappropriating the natural resources for some fuckery. So again, metals were not meant to be used as commodities. They were meant to be used in harmony with the planet, just like diamonds, which are part of the ley lines, all of them precious stones, part of the ley line grid system. So think about Avatar. As they walked, shit was lighting up. That's like the what we're calling the crystals and the diamonds and the emeralds and the rubies, which are all just forms of crystals at a different vibratory rate to carry the plasmic vortex energy. And yes, Purple Pill, that is the real vortex. So when folks are digging the shit up out the ground, not using it properly, and trading on it, that's when the fall kept continuing to happen. Harnessing plasma energy, making it into weaponry, and literally wiping out the landscape. But now the landscape is starting to regenerate itself. So I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
The Mayans had it too. They had electricity, and they had doors that slid open. So when they went to look for the crystal skulls, trying to, like that, what's it, Temple of Doom, what is the name?
Indiana Jones.
Jones in the Temple of Doom. See, they had those crystal skulls, and those crystal skulls, they believe were computers.
Absolutely.
So they had electricity in Mayans. They had underground cities with a big giant lake and buildings that when you walked up to it, it slid open.
Absolutely.
We're not as primitive African bush people as they have portrayed us to be in the rewrite of history.
Well, just like, they were saying in the Americas that, the quote-unquote Indian were just primitive people, but yet all of these artifacts prove differently. Just like we were into the city of Bashan, we saw where the giants or the titans who were the indigenous to that land, their structures stood longer than the Greeks and the Romans.
Right.
So, yeah, absolutely, sis, absolutely. All right, so here we go. I'm sorry, go ahead, Brother Sean.
I would have to say water is the best conductor of electricity.
I would agree.
Hydro. Mm-hmm.
We live in a water world. Our bodies are mainly water.
Yep.
Our blood is water.
Yep.
Plasma is hypercharged. Plasma is hypercharged water.
That's right.
It's a sentient life form.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's able to communicate. It's actually able to change the structure of DNA.
Yep.
Water can heal. Water can kill.
Mm-hmm. Take your pick.
Exactly.
Elements on the planet, water.
Yeah, because
so it's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And people forget that the sun is plasma.
People
Why they sitting up trying to act like plasma is a new, is something
act
new.
like it's a new thing. Exactly. Exactly. But no, the sun is a hot motherfucking ball.
93 million miles away.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you forgot to throw that in there. But yeah, it's plasma.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely plasma. And actually, plasma is the spark that, the spark of creation, I'll put it that way. And, damn, Brother Sean, that's why you had to motherfucking bring that up. And that spark plasma, once it vibrates, its spin level, the higher it vibrates, guess what shape it turns into? Ultimately, turns into X.
An X?
An X. And it splits itself. Yes. So I'm just going to leave that right there. And then in addition to that, there is a YouTube video, I want to say, off of the That's Impossible channel, where, and I don't know if it was doctored with, it didn't appear to be doctored with, but where these two young boys filmed in the sky these DNA strands. But the DNA strands were made out of plasma. They didn't know it was plasma. I knew it was plasma. And that shit was spinning. And if you pay attention to the video, you'll see it spin, and it was like an X, and then it spun into the DNA, and then it started to light up with the chakra colors, and they were like, what, bro, what the hell is that? Blah, 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 blah. So, again, I think that's off of the That's Impossible channel, but if not, just type in YouTube DNA string found in the sky. But I am telling you, that was plasma in the sky making that DNA strand. Okay, so to me, I'm like, oh, okay, well, go ahead on, mama, show us that you upgrading in around here, that DNA strands are being upgraded or unlocked. So either your code frequency resonates or it's ass out.
We're supposed to be upgraded, right?
Absolutely.
Depending upon
Absolutely.
who you are.
Yeah, that's true. We should be doing it.
True that. True that. I'm sorry, go ahead. Just real quick, Brother Sean, hold that thought. I know, Purple Pill, you're in the chat room. We're going into overtime in 2 minutes. You want to continue with us, 929-477-3858, 929-477-3858. If you're not continuing with us, as always, thank you so much. You really dropped a lot of knowledge as usual, and peace and love to you. Okay, go ahead on. Go ahead on, Brother Sean.
The color and intensity of plasma is dictated by the frequency in which it's resonating at.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And people that go through spontaneous self-combustion,
Wow.
that's that plasma vibrating at a high frequency.
Hey, that may be why the rainforest is catching fire, because it's spontaneous plasma combustion.
Yeah, it's Mama doing it.
Yeah. The California burning too, remember last year?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. Yep.
That spontaneous self-combustion, most of the cases I've seen have only taken place in quote-unquote Caucasian people.
I don't think they control the frequency. What do you think?
They said it's sulfur. That's what I heard their base is sulfur. Of course, sulfur is what you light a match with, right? Or it's part of the match.
Sulfur, phosphates.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, y'all done just brought some new shit. Equation. But yeah,
and
that's being able to hold that frequency. I'm sorry, go
if
ahead
you
on.
think about it, though,
That's Malachi. Gospel of Malachi.
melanin is the only thing capable of encasing plasma
Yes.
at its highest frequency.
That is correct.
So Malachi is going to be right, isn't it? The Malachi 4th chapter? Yeah. Where they're going to spontaneously burn up.
It's interesting because remember I told y'all that several people, I don't know if Mama Wu is. She's on Facebook, and shout out to Mama Wu. She dropped some knowledge. Mama Wu talked about a dream that she had, and Mama Wu is not the only one.
Mm-hmm.
I personally had it, but it's a different one. I'll explain that in a minute. But Mama Wu said in her dream that she just saw people combusting.
Yeah,
and they were
that's going to happen.
To ash. They were turning to ash, and she said that we had to go in the streets and sweep up the ash. So Rap the News said it. I'll share my in a minute, but go ahead on, sis.
I said Malachi 4th chapter says that's exactly what's going to happen to them. They're going to turn into ashes. So when I was listening to this guy, remember he was doing this video, and he was talking about, oh, God, I forget the compound. But he was talking about it. They cut his video. And his basic premise was that the European is sulfur-based. That's their base. And that sulfur will self-combust one day, and that's what gives them their insanity. Because it happened about 6,000 years ago, I think he said. But they cut his speaker off so you couldn't hear him. But I knew the compound when he was writing it. I can't remember what it is right now, but I remember the compound. I said, oh, because my science background. So I was like, what?
Mm-hmm. And that's
why
I'm
they
sorry,
have
go ahead,
these,
sis.
That's why they have the people going whacked. It's because of the compound that their system is made of, basic sulfur, which leads to insanity in their monkeys with a gun.
Well, see, and then if you think about it, if the UV radiation / plasma is getting more and more actively, and those ley lines are really activating. And if, again, that's why I keep telling you all it's about frequency. So if your chemistry makeup is sulfur, well, goddamn, that is like around as a match, and the motherfucking spark come. Now, there's people, I'll have to pull this man's name to get it to you. As a matter of fact, they must have took this man off the air because I haven't gotten any notification, but they've been fucking with people's notifications anyway. But he talks about the plasmic event that has happened in the past and how one is going to happen again.
Okay.
He talks about that things are going to be catching on fire and you're going to see ashes floating in the air, and it's going to be so thick in the atmosphere that's what you're going to see. And that's exactly the dream I had. It wasn't people catching on fire, but the atmosphere was so thick with these ashes that you knew that something had happened. And he was trying to put you in the mind, damn, y'all, what's the name of the Netflix? Stranger Things. And I highly recommend that. It's a Netflix thing.
Yeah, I used to watch it.
Go back and look at season 1 if you haven't looked at it. When they talk about what do they call it? The upside down world. That's what they call it. The upside down world. When they get to the upside down world, you see that murky-like atmosphere. That same atmosphere is what people are having dreams about, and it's the aftermath of a plasmic event. So I'll try to pull that one dude's name and have it for you all next week to check out his videos because he also shows you how in movies they keep telling you about these plasmic events that happen, that keeps happening, etc. So I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
The Bible says, I will quote it, it says that the last destruction will be fire. He said, I did it with water before.
Isn't that the Armageddon thingy? It makes sense to me.
Now it makes a whole lot of sense how everything going to burn up.
It makes sense to me. Now, the interesting thing, when I told you all earlier in the show that it was Rap the News and That's Impossible had on there that in Indonesia that everything was red. The sky was red and the atmosphere was very, very murky. And Rap the News said that it was the ion dust that was
Africa
going on. Huh?
I think Africa had something happen to them too, in one of their areas where it was red like that. It was someplace. They had it.
Well, I do know on that same day is that day that I captured the picture right outside the door of the sky being lit up also.
Yeah, fires. Wow, isn't that something? But see, that's the purification. He says it's a purification. And we're talking all the time about purification. How is he going to purify the situation? That's why they're building these underground tunnels for hiding.
And it's not going to help them. It's not going to help them because the radiation is going to kill them.
Penetrate around.
Yeah, it's really nowhere to run. And just to give you all content again of this plasma, even what they're calling wormwood, that's nothing but a form of plasma. And people have literally caught on camera wormwood coming through our atmosphere, and it looks just like the Bible describes it, just like ancient texts describe it. Looks like this ball with wings. Okay? That is a plasma event. Okay? And as I told you all earlier, that plasma is the spark of life because it can spin, and if you look at the process of how it spins, that wormwood is part of the process because it'll keep spinning at such a high rate that then it will create the X. So anyhow, I know I kind of went off kilter, but I just want to let you all know that all of those things are forms of plasma. That's why we tell you that these things that they are calling planets are energy centers or, quote, quote, plasma. I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
Like Brother Sean said, remember, Brother Sean, you said that the transformer burnt up in, was it Boston or something? Or in your neighborhood or something?
Yeah, shit, that was in his backyard.
It was. Just spontaneous combustion.
And the sky turned purple. He sent me a picture. The sky was literally purple. It was no mistake about it.
That's a prelude to a symphony, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful purple at that. So again, frequency, vibration. Okay. All right. So Lost City in Ontario, a report from 1871 notes that a lost city was found on a farm in Dunnville, Ontario, in association with 2 tons of charcoal and various implements that indicated that the site of an ancient forge. Giant skulls with perfect teeth. This is coming out of the Daily Telegraph, Toronto, Ontario, in August 1871. Dunnville, Ontario, there is not the slightest doubt that the remains of a lost city are on this farm. At various times within the past years, the remains of mud houses with their chimneys have been found there. And there are dozens of pits of a similar kind to that just unearthed, though much smaller in the place which has been discovered before, though the facts has not been made public. The remains of a blacksmith shop containing 2 tons of charcoal and various implements were turned up a few months ago. The farm, which consists of 150 acres, has been cultivated for nearly a century and was covered with a thick growth of pine, so that it must have been ages ago since the remains were deposited there. The skulls of the skeletons are of an enormous size and all manner of shapes, about half as large again as now to be seen. The teeth in most of them are still in almost perfect state of preservation, though they soon fall out when exposed to the air. So I kind of chuckled on that because I'm like, that's a goddamn shame. That they done dug somebody up and they motherfucking teeth in perfect condition, and here our raggedy asses got cavities and fillings for days. So anyhow.
Mercury fillings, no less. They didn't have enough sense not to put mercury in your mouth.
Yeah, and that's for sure. All right, it is supposed that there is gold or silver in large quantities to be found in the premises, as mineral rods have invariably, when tested, pointed to a certain spot and a few yards from where the last batch of skeletons was found, directly under the apple tree. Okay, so there we go again. Here go a mound being built in close proximity to a tree. Some large shells supposed to have been used for holding water, which were also found in the pit, were almost petrified or putrefied. There is no doubt that if there is a scheme of exploration carried on thoroughly, the results would be highly interesting. A good deal of excitement exists in the neighborhood, and many visitors call at the farm daily. The skulls and bones of the giants are fast disappearing, being taken away by curious hunters. It is the intent of Mr. Feinberg or Fendenberg to cover up the pit very soon. The pit is ghastly in the extreme. The farm is skirted on the north by the Grand River. The pit is close to the banks. Okay, so again, we told y'all about the conductor of energy, water, but marks are there to show where the gold or silver treasure is supposed to be under. From the appearance of the skulls, it was seen that their possessors died a violent death, as many of them were broken and dented. The axes are shaped like tomahawks, small but keen instruments. The beads are of stone and all sizes and shapes. The pipes are not unlike in shape the cuddy pipe, and several of them are engraved with dogs' heads. They have not lost their virtue for smoking. Okay, so that does not surprise us because we know the tobacco plant is found in the Americas. We know that that was used as trade, yada, yada, yada. But notice, this is up in Ontario. Okay, so they was getting their smoke on, their tobacco on there. All right, so some people profess to believe that the locality of Feindenberg Farm was formerly an Indian burial place, but the enormous statue of the skeletons and the fact that pine trees of centuries growth cover the spot go far to disprove this idea. All right, so I'm going to read, because we do know Ohio, y'all, is off the god doggone chain. You cannot talk about a story of giants in America or the mounds. So let me back up. because those that live in Ohio, we know about the mounds. We know that the who are calling themselves Indians today say they are not the mound builders. In their defense, they say that. We do know that a lot of those mounds were destroyed in Ohio to create the cities that we know today. And PBS last year did a documentary on how they laid out the city of Columbus, and they were showing how they had to tear down these ancient trees and plow through a bunch of mounds. Now, of course, they didn't talk about what was discovered in those mounds. But yeah, y'all, Ohio is off the chain regarding these mounds. So here we go with Ohio again. Ohio estimated to have 10,000 mounds. Now, this is from the New York Tribune, 1874. The first settlers of the Ohio and Mississippi valleys found various forms of earthworks in the solitude of the wilderness overgrown with dense forests. It is said that Ohio alone has 10,000 of these in the form of mounds of various sizes, and 1,500 enclosures are scattered through the state. They are found in Illinois and Wisconsin and other western states, and in the Gulf states, varying in size. Some are small hill locks, 2 or 3 feet high, while others assume almost primordial magnitude. Like the mound in Poheka, Illinois, which has a base of more than 5 acres in area and a height of 90 feet. Now remember, we told y'all that Illinois was a part of Ohio back in the day. Okay? All right. So one of the most elaborate of all these works is located in Newark, Ohio, hell to the no. Right? So that's close to Columbus. That's a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. It is the labyrinthine in structure containing some 15 miles of embankment, and after years of investigation, archaeologists can do no more than surmise as to what its uses were. Clearly, it cannot have been built for architectural purposes, for the enclosure of which it principally consists have the ditches on the inside of the embankment, while the outside presents no visible obstacle to an invading army. 100-foot gateway. One of the largest of the enclosures is known as Old Fort and stands 1.5 miles southwest of the city of Newark. It consists of a circular embankment more than a mile in circumference, entirely unbroken except on the side toward the city, where a mammoth gateway of 100 feet in width was constructed by the builders. On each side of this passage, the ends of the embankment projected a little from the center of the enclosure and rose to a height of 25 feet, while the general height is about 18. Upon this embankment and within the ditch on the inside, the trees are as large as those upon the undisturbed portion of the ground around and within the fort. The citizen still lives in Newark, who cut an oak tree upon this bank 60 years ago, which measured, I just told y'all, I can't make this motherfucking shit up. I told you the PBS documentary that was talking about how Columbus, Ohio was formed. I told you that they had pictures showing them cutting down these ancient trees. So who cut an oak tree upon this bank 60 years ago, which measured 650 rings of annual growth. So now this was back in 1874. Now again, I just want to put in content of the dates. This is when the black nobility was coming up off these thrones and the Caucasians were coming into power. So as they were coming over here, as the black nobility gave charters on these lands in the Americas, because remember, the wars broke out, tribes sided with British, the French, whom the fuck ever. So after the dust had settled on the melanated on melanated or black on black crime, the Caucasians started coming into power. I told you all it was the late 1800s, early 1900s, okay? So it makes perfect sense because now all of this stuff that we have read about the Giants' remains being discovered in the Americas, it was the late 1800s and the 1900s. Because the indigenous people that were on the land knew not to go fucking with that stuff. They knew that it was ancient grave sites. They knew not to be cutting down ancient trees that sat on ley lines and all of that. Okay, so it makes perfect sense. It's all starting to line up. All right, parallel mounds lead to octagonal central square. So again, I'm going to say this to the family. All of these particular ancient cities that were built on the grids were laid out in sacred geometry shapes. So the circle within the circle within the circle representing the true structure of Mother Earth with the center with the iron rock or the magnetic rock or Mount Meru. And now you have here, they're saying this particular mound laid out in an octagonal shape. All right. So if you peep game and kind of pay attention to wandering stars, so meaning things that they are calling planets in the sky, folks have really been on their game and using their telescopes, zooming in on these things that they are calling round balls, and they are discovering that they aren't that as well. And you zoom in close enough, and guess what you see? These things are that they are calling planets are vibrating, and they are emitting not only certain colors or frequencies, but they are also have certain sacred geometry shapes in them. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Saturn has the octagon to it, okay? So again, none of this is coincidental or a coincidence on how the ancient ancestors built things. They built them in the sacred geometry shapes upon these ley lines for the purpose of naturally harnessing the energy from Mother Earth, okay? So even a lot of the cities today, they are built on top of these ancient structures, and if you pay attention, you'll see some of them also laid out, because shit, the city of D.C., especially with that obelisk, if you look at an aerial view, kind of looks like they were trying to make that circle within a circle grid line with the Mount Meru sticking up the top. So in other words, saying that they control the frequency of the planet, okay? So meaning that Roman structure, shit, y'all, fuck. That's what it is. God damn it. That obelisk. God damn it, that represents them controlling the frequency or controlling of Mount Meru. Now it fucking makes sense. Got it.
What?
All right.
What you think represents that? Say that again.
The obelisk, or I used to call it a penis stood up.
Oh, bad. Oh, okay. I'm telling you, what was you talking about?
Yeah. And you see it all around the world. Each area conquered by the Romans, that's their symbol. So now it makes sense. That could very well represent their version of controlling the frequency of the planet, or controlling that energy field, or harnessing the Mount Meru's energy to their particular purposes. And if you pay attention where they build those structures, they're building them on ley lines as well. So I'm sorry, go ahead, sis.
No, I was remembering what you're saying about the luminaries. They had telescopes on them showing that there's figures inside of the luminaries, like people. And some of the book of Job and all those kind of things show how they were locked up and to give illumination and become the luminaries. So they're supposed to be the stars. Angels or angles or angle, that's what they're saying.
Right, because you are an angle of light.
Yeah. You
emit frequency, which translates into a color.
Exactly.
You're not an angle of light. You're walking plasma, per se.
Right.
So someone could be looking at Mother Earth and whatever her sacred geometry symbol is, and motherfucking zooming in and seeing you as angles of light. Because we do know, personally caught with my camera, souls of spirits in the sky. You can see them, and it's just light. So it makes sense.
It does.
All right. So parallel mounds lead to octagon central square. Okay, so that whole circle in a square, I want y'all to draw a square, or if you could draw the circle, draw like on the circle, draw like 4 lines, one above the circle, one below the circle, one on the right of the circle, one on the left of the circle. Then I want you to put a square around that. Okay, that's that ancient symbol that they call starts with the M. Y'all, I know y'all know what I'm talking about. Every ancient culture has that particular symbol. I can't think of it right now. Starts with the M. Very, very beautifully depicted. You just have to know what you're looking at. And the Indian culture really, really uses it a lot. Okay? All right. So
Macabre?
Here we go. Huh?
Macabre?
I mean, it could represent that, but that's not what I'm trying to say. Ancient Tibet symbols. And all y'all have to do is look up ancient Tibet symbols, and all of the stuff that we're talking about, lines, all you're going to consistently see is that circle within a circle within a circle with spokes coming out the side. So that inner circle represents where that Mount Meru is coming out the center, or the energy center, and the wheels of the spoke, okay, So that's what Ezekiel Will was trying to show you all. Okay, so those spokes are like dimensions or gateways. Okay, so the entire thing, I want y'all to keep game. The entire thing is a stargate itself.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to know what frequency to tune into to pass through those particular gates. I still can't find the word I'm looking for. I'll get it, even if I have to come back.
It is.
But it starts with a M.
Mangala. But that's the only
Okay,
thing.
Mandala. Goddammit, that's what I'm trying to say. Mandala.
Yeah. Right here.
Yep. That's what I'm trying to say. All right. So, although the octagon is shaped differently, but still. All right. From this mammoth gateway. Now, that's not Rhonda's word. That's what the author said. From this mammoth gateway, 2 parallel lines of earth, a few rods apart, lead to a rectangular enclosure over half a mile to the northeast, which has an area of about 20 acres, beyond which, nearer the city, are still other works, traces of which are obliterated. From this network near the city, now remember, he's describing an ancient city, all right? From this network near the city, 2 sets of parallel walls run west more than 2 miles, move to another enclosure in the form of an octagon containing about 50 acres to the southwest, of which, and almost adjoining it, is another circle about equal in size to the old fort. Both of these are situated on a range of hills. 25-foot stone watchtower. The plowshare has performed its work of demolition to some extent upon the walls, upon some of these latter enclosures, with the exception of one point on the circular embankment. This consists of earth and stone, somewhat irregularly built to a height of 25 feet, and as it lies in the extreme southwest of the whole system of works, it is thought by some that this was the watchtower or signal station of the West. 1,000 years of forest growth covered the site. When, by whom, and for what purpose these mammoth works were built are puzzles which have always baffled the skill of archaeologists. It is evident they were built long ages ago, for where the timber has not been removed by civilized man, as in the case of the old fort. This dense forest covered the works, which must have required 1,000 years to grow where they now stand. It is not altogether unreasonable to suppose that generation after generation of forest has grown and decayed on this soil since it was built by the dusky. Y'all, they some motherfuckers. Got the nerve now, after all of this splendor, they don't even have a remote idea of why the ancients were building this type of way. Okay, they're marveling at the architecture, but then at the last motherfucking sentence have the audacity to say it was built by the dusky savages in the form we now find it. Really? Who the fuck you calling dusty?
They had all dead bodies in the middle of the street and no clean water, and they were filthy, so bad they had to take sniffers to keep their, from fainting from the smell of the sewage and dirt in their cities. And they come here to a spotlessly clean, organized, and well-built place and tore it up.
Right, because remember, again, this excavation, now I do need to put in some disclaimers. It's not like all of the excavation started in the late 1800s, because really the first of the excavation, New York, see y'all fucked up. Out in the motherfucking East, y'all fucked up because you started bartering and trading with the fur business, so you was out of balance with natural law right motherfucking there. And then you started allowing and participating in excavating the land, and that's why New York looks the way it looks today, because all of that was covered with nothing but forestry and land. So I don't want the family to believe that all of the excavation in the Americas started in the late 1800s, because truth be told, the East Coast started with that fuck shit in the 1500s when they started trading with the Dutch. Okay. All right. Let me see. I think that's all on this one, y'all. Let me see. One more place I wanted to go. Giant Town, which is on page 180. And this is where I want to go. And just so you know, throughout, he also talked about how they were finding carvings of eagles. So again, don't think that the United motherfucking Snakes just came up with this shit. No, you can't come up with a goddamn thing. You took all of these things actually from the indigenous of the land, and they are even harnessing some of the energies to run the fuck game that they're running. And the sad part about it, to show you how we have fallen so low from a vibratorial state, the shit that they're using to control is really still low level stuff. Okay, so carvings of eagles were found way back far. So don't even think that the eagle stuff came from the United States, or that it came from Africa and all of that. That was already still over here. All right, so parallel rows of stones found. When the land became valuable, he cut off the trees and began hauling away the stone. Okay, so who the hell is this? Because I kind of skipped. This is off of an article from 1906 at Raleigh Herald. Numerous mounds and Indian relics to be found along the Cheat River about Horseshoe Bend in Tucker County. Okay, so I didn't read the whole thing. I just jumped to the stuff that I wanted to get out of it. So when the land became valuable, he cut off the trees and began hauling away the stone. He then discovered that all of the stones were on the surface of the ground, while a deep soil lay beneath. What surprised him more was to find that the stone had been in parallel rows, and so regularly that he was convinced that it was the work of men. The stones were worn river rocks, carried, no doubt, from the stream which flowed immediately by the spot. Okay, here we go again with the ancients building by some form of water. Okay, so the village had been long deserted, even in 1769, when first seen by white men. That was proved by the fact that large trees had grown up through the stone pavement, pushing the rocks aside with their trunks. There were sycamore trees 6 feet in diameter and walnuts and oaks nearly as large. Their ages could not have been less than 300 and may have been 500 years. It is not probable that the trees would grow there while the Indians occupied the place. It is therefore not unreasonable to presume that we have here the remains of a town antedating the discovery of America by Columbus. Giant Town. The first recorded settlement on the river bottom, Cheat River, was made in 1769, and there was built the fort in which the settlers found shelter during the Denmore War of 1774. The old settlers called the place where the Indian village stood the Giant Town. This was not because the town was large, but from the fact that the skeleton of a very large man was unearthed at the place about 180 years ago. The fact is as well authenticated as any event can be that depends to some extent on tradition. In the year of 1774, or about that time, James Parson was walking along the river banks at that place, the Cheat River, and discovered the bones protruding from a bank where a recent flood had washed away the soil. He pulled out the thigh bone of a man, and adjusting the bones to his own leg for comparison, he found the bone was 7 inches longer than his own. He was 6 feet tall. He pulled out the other bones until he had the greater part of his skeleton from the knee upward. The lower jawbone fitted over the outside of his face. He made a partial reconstruction of the skeleton and was sure that the man was, when alive, was 8 feet tall. Tradition of giants. Tradition of giants should be accepted with about the same caution as we accept the measurements of Goliath, who was said to be 11 feet tall. There is no special reason to dispute the truth of Captain James Parsons' statement concerning the bones. He was a man well known in his day and was reliable. He was frequently spoken of in the frontier histories. Okay, so I do have to say that throughout the book, the author also kind of talks about how folks were trying to save these mounds. And of course, it's been to no avail, okay? So he does go into that as well. So let me get to 83 and 84, because I want to put us in a good place for next week for us to start wrapping up and concluding, because I was going to try to squeeze it in, but I'm not, because it proves a lot of our research in black nobility. He dropped another bombshell on us in here, so we'll get to that next week. All right, evidence of an ancient house. This is Associated Press, 1964. Poplar Bluff. The skeleton of a woman found with pottery water bottle gives testimony to the archaeological treasure only inches beneath the soil on the Butler farm. Jim Price, a sophomore student of archaeology at the University of Missouri, made the find September 5th. The skeleton is that of a woman 35 to 40 years old and dates back to AD to AD 1000. The burial pottery is made of clay. Okay, I'm getting a lot of feedback from somebody. So if you're doing something, just mute for me. Just mute your line. Okay, the burial pottery is made of clay and ground river mussel from the Little Black and Black Rivers, also discovered by Price, who holds the title of Director of Archaeological Survey of Missouri for the Missouri Archaeological Survey, was evidence of a house 15 by 20 feet. To the trained eye, the charcoal sketch soil told that the house had been burned. The place where posts once set in a trench was evident, and a broken pot lay on what was once the floor of the house, some 3 feet from the skeleton. 100 skeletons dug up, average 5 feet 6 inches, tallest 7 feet 8 inches. Kohler has also dug up an estimated 100 skeletons in the shallow graves scattered over his fields. He has been interested chiefly in noting the height of the remains, which he says averages 5 feet 6 inches. One skeleton measured 7 feet 8 inches. So I know we talked about this before, Brother Sean. I think you brought up a good point. You really brought up a good point. When we talk about the biblical story of the fallen angels that made it with the daughters of man, and we said, could it just have been the different bloodlines? So the bloodlines of the giants, indigenous people, mating with regular, what we call in regular today, hype people. So in other words, that original bloodline, the bigger folks, taller in stature, mating with the smaller folks of a different bloodline. And I kind of made the joke, because short women are always trying to date a tall man. So I find it interesting that some of these giant remains that they are finding, they're also finding with them regular sized folks as well. All right, so the temple to the sun. These Indians worship the sun, as evidenced by the large temple mound clearly visible in the Kohler soybean field. The temple mound is 75 feet in diameter and has been 30 feet high in Kohler's memory. 3 other ancillary mounds located west of the temple mound contain houses for the priests. Outlaying these mounds was the village area, which includes the Kohler's chicken yard where the skeleton was discovered. The site for the village was probably selected for the nearness to the water and its high ground. So there you go again with the ancients, this time building a temple in the honor of the sun, plasma, in honor of the plasma ball, another energy source. And I say that the sun plasma works in cohorts or works in harmony with the Mother Earth's natural energy source, or that magnetic rock in the Arctic. So here you have the ancients who built a temple dedicated to the sun. Where did they build it to? Right next to another conductor of energy, water. Okay, so again, all of this stuff that they talk about, masonry and or Masonic order and worshiping the sun, all coming from Africa. Really now. So this is the second time, because we showed you when we were going through the city of Bashan how they also had the temples of the sun. They had the temples worshiping the goddesses, and now you're seeing that temples also in the Americas as well. All right. So it says an unusual square mound is described on the Big Harpeth River at Dog Creek in Tennessee. Yeah, because I wanted you Tennesseans to hear this, y'all. A major square bottom mound has been described in relation to a much larger complex. Okay, so just one thing about when I was describing to you the mandala. Okay, so the circle within a circle within a circle with the ley lines shooting out from it, encompassed with a square. Okay, so that encompass of a square just really means it is capturing that energy force or containing that energy force. So that's what that square represents, and that's also why today, and I have to send a shout out to Brother Kalai because he broke this shit down. That's why today, you know, everything, buildings and all of that shit is built in squares to like capture or encase energy. But yet stadiums you also see that's built in the circular motion, and if you pay attention, that's like a circle within a circle within a circle. And what are people doing at these stadiums? They're giving off massive amounts of energy, and that energy is being harnessed. All right, sorry, y'all. Let me hurry the hell up so we can get to the Tennessee stuff. All right, so on the Big Harpeth River at Dog Creek in Tennessee, a major square bottom mound has been described in relation to a much larger complex. The mound is 47 feet by 47 feet at the base with a height of 25 feet. Two other square bottom mounds were also noted in the complex, which are from 5 to 10 feet in height. In all, there are 13 mounds in this complex. Okay, so just want to point out, 13 is a significant number, all right? 13 always represents like the hidden or meaning the spiritual world that you have to see with your spiritual eye. The Natural and Aboriginal History of Tennessee, 1823, by Dr. John Haywood. One of the Big Harpeth River in a bed of river below the road, which crosses near the mouth of Dog Creek from Nashville to Charlotte, is a square mound, 47 by 47 at the base, 25 feet high, and two others in a row with it of inferior size, from 5 to 10 feet high. At some distance from them and near the eastern extremities of the bend are three others in a parallel row with a space like a public square between the rows. Near the mounds are all other small ones to the amount of 13 in all. All around the bend, except at the place of entrance, is a wall on the margin of the river. The mounds are upon the areas enclosed by the wall. Within them are also, and not far from the entrance, is a reservoir of water. Its mouth is squared, and it is 15 feet. The water, it is nearly even with the surface. There are, besides the entrance, two gateways. From thence to the river is a distance of 40 yards. The wall is upon the second bank. On the top of the large mound, an image was found some years ago, 18 inches long from the feet to the head. Soapstone was the material of which it was composed. The arms were slipped into the socket and there retained the hook. They hung downward when not lifted. The trees standing upon the mounds were very old. A poplar stood on one of them 5 or 6 feet through. A large road leads through the entrance. which is at the point where the river turns off to make the bend, and after making it, returns to an opposite point near it. So I'm going to stop there. We'll pick up next week. We're going to finish up and conclude. I'm just going to keep reading for you Tennesseans to just show you how your ancestors laid out and harness the energy of the ley lines, the natural ley lines of Mama Earth. And they built their cities using sacred geometry for the purpose of harnessing energy. And I'm willing to bet that all of this shit that they're marveling about today with electricity, this, that, and the third, was already being done back then, except they were using the natural vortexes from the planet to do so. So I'm going to give, do you have any last words for the family?
Oh, you talking to me?
There you go. Yep. You have any last words for the family?
I just had a great time. I'm really thrilled that
great show
on, and we're learning so many things, and not only we're learning things, but we're putting things together that's already written for us to know that it's going to go down like this. And it's talking to us, prophecy and dreams and everything is telling us where we are. And people need to get on board, get right, and do it, the way it's supposed to be, or you're going to be a casualty. And I hope I don't be one, and I hope no one I know of who at least listens will be a casualty as well. So that's all I wanted.
Indeed. Brother Sean, you have any last words for the family?
Love yourself. Be yourself.
Indeed.
That's right.
Indeed. I do want to thank the family for just joining us tonight. Thank you for your support. Shout out to the families of callers. Brother 313, shout out to you. Shout out to Purple Pill in the chat room. And then shout out to Brother Lex Will for dropping in and joining us tonight. And we truly mean what we say. Please drop in again, and maybe we can link up and do some things as well to bring this information to the forefront. So I do want to thank the family so much. We love you much. We're going to be back next week. We're going to conclude this series next week. And because I cannot wait to get to the next one. Oh, yeah, it's going to be some hurt motherfucking feelings. But it is what it is. So we're going to rock out with some music. Peace and love, family. Thank you, sis and brother Sean, my lovely co-host. We'll be back next week, family. Peace and love.